plenary make decisions and all that. And that gives us one serious issue that is in limbo, and that is the boundaries, the review of the Boundaries Commission, especially the review of the wards and the review of the constituencies. Sometimes people mistake it and bring the counties. IBC has nothing to do with the counties, and there's no body. There's no body that has been constituted to look into the counties. So the deadline, usually timelines, is by April. And that means if there will be no members, we shall not have members of the IBC Commission by April, it means that's a foregone issue unless we introduce an amendment in court to allow that to be done, which I don't know whether that is possible foreseen by the Constitution. Thank you.
It's a good thing that you guys have noted that we have a lot to be touched on, and especially on the IEBC, Oscar. But before we do that, let's touch on something that is quite emotive to Kenyans, and it's something that had just been introduced, that a lot of government services have all been shifted to the e-citizen, which is a good thing, if you ask me, in terms of accountability. And in a country where corruption is one of the thing that ails us for years, it's a good thing that we have a central point for funds collection. But the first thing a lot of Kenya are asking, why now? Why exactly are we being told to just all of us be bundled into the e-citizen? It has had its fair share of issues. Let's look at e-citizen, matters education. A number of parents have raised issues because some of the parents do not actually pay the fee. They sometimes bring pay fee in kind, where maybe they bring some maize, some beans, some even. I saw back in our days where parents would come and do some work for a couple of days or weeks, and that their wages is commuted to the school fees.
Yes.
Away from that, beginning January of this year, Kenya declared that it will not be requiring visa. I've seen tourists also bringing about the issue, saying there are a lot of delays, there are a lot of issues with the e-citizen. Away from that, education, bundling all these government services there. In as much as it's a good thing in terms of accountability, the public participation, parents are saying, we were not involved. We were not asked how we feel. We are not told how we're going to be paying this. The visa issue, you have to pay a few dollars before you get into the country. Some say that after you pay, there's no message, no nothing. Did we just bring this issue at the wrong time? Maybe we needed to shelve it and wait for all the agencies to put everything, including their house, in order.
One thing, there are two things here. I think bringing these things because of accountability, bringing them together, is not a bad thing per se, but there seems to be a bit of a rushed migration that we've rushed, and sometimes every project must always be seen to be user-friendly. And I think the project at this particular time, because our constitution is so robust, but the biggest difference between our constitution, the 2010 constitution, and the previous constitution that we had, this was a public participatory constitution, a constitution of the people, that it really considered the concept of public participation, involvement of the user. And that is why all the cases that even go to court against government decisions is, did you properly involve the public? The issue of this bundling everything into e-citizen is a good idea. But not just the public. Are the people, the managers of that system, comfortable with it? For example, head teachers and managers of schools, NHIF managers. People are rushing, for example. I know of a case of somebody was telling me that, I have to rush and go and pay my NHIF because my wife is expectant and this thing might fail when I need to go to hospital. And now, if you step into a hospital with an expectant or a sick patient, if you had not paid NHIF because of the system failure, then you have to pay in cash. And sometimes, for example, I will tell you a good example. You don't pay for C-section surgery for pregnancy if you have NHIF. But if you don't have NHIF, you pay 80,000. Most in 80,000, 100,000 or something like in normal hospitals. Now you see the difference of when a system fails. In other jurisdictions, I've lived for example, in Sweden. There are times that a system fails, but when the system fails, they make sure, for example, that the payment of train has failed. They make sure that it's just free. Let them move because
the boss is on their side.
Yes, because it is on their side.
That's true.
So let the trains go. Let the economy move as we fix this thing. So it will be free. Just walk in there and go because the system has failed. You've not failed it. But here we have a system where if it fails and you fail to pay, you are to blame the person who was supposed to pay. And if you go even online, I've seen people writing that I tried to pay NHIF, it didn't get me back the message. Now I'm worried because I have a patient. And if I'm not able to pay in time, that means that I have to pay cash. So I just don't know that the people who are making these decisions up there are in tandem with the problem of the system down there. Number two, when we centralize systems like that one, for example, you know there was a time that M-Pesa was hacked. And when it is hacked, the whole country is waiting. And you know, people are waiting from hospitals in Lodwar, hospitals in Meru, and the entire country is waiting for example, M-Pesa to come up. The whole system. I will tell you for one thing, like, I myself have not been able to use cash for a number of times. But sometimes I always try to make sure you feature kidogo some cash, because if M-Pesa fails, then you can't do anything. You can't move on matatus. But we've accepted technology as a people. We use matatus, we use Ubers, we use everything. We pay everywhere. It's accepted everywhere. M-Pesa payment now is so much common in Kenya than cash payment, which is also very safe again for everybody. Carrying money physical money from one place to another is a difficult thing. These systems have worked elsewhere. I think Sweden also, I think now they don't have paper cash. Almost everything is paid, either a card or a phone or something. Yes, we can move there, but we must be able to develop policies that are not as radical, so that at the end of the day, the outcome is not what we expected. Because at the end of the day, what is the expectation? We want accountability, we want systems to be easy. That is our expectation, it's a good thing. But we can move with it so radically that at the end of the day, there's nothing. For example, now I think it's this Kilifi Senator, Madzayo, has gone to court to challenge the convenience fee. That why do you have to pay the convenience fee
for government services?
For government services.
Actually, I will get, we will delve into that a little bit later on in terms of service provision to Kenyans, because we are paying taxes. These are government, basic government services, and we have to be charged.
It's double taxation.
It's double taxation. Thank you. Daniel, I'm looking at the government has, as we speak, has 15,440 services that are on e-Citizen, and they're striving towards 19. Should we be looking forward to 19,000 services on e-Citizen, or first of all, we should be trying to make our systems work? Because as we speak, they're not quite working for Kenyans.
Maybe I want to begin where you're parting, that they are not working for Kenyans. When Teams was working for NTSA, Kenyans were able to get their services a bit faster. When I mean faster, compared to now. People have transferred their vehicles since October last year for ownership. It was acknowledged by the teams. But when the transition took place to eCitizen through to Manit, they have not received any replies. Even asking to follow up to know why are they not receiving their logbooks, where is the delay on the new number plates, it has become difficult. And that's why Oscar's statement of being in a hurry becomes very key. That when you introduce any process to a public, even though the public participated, if they did at all, in accepting that that's how they wanted it to be governed in that bill or law, one that policy has been enacted, you have again to go back to these people to do what we call voter education. I do not know in this country where voter education money goes to for people to understand that now that this has been passed, because even if you participated, not in entirety, that what you participated will become law or will operate, I mean, will work. So you must go back to those people. For what you're asking about the number of people on that platform, what I do not know, what have they done to the stakeholders that were already they were already doing those processes before it was taken to EE platform? Mm-hmm. Because you need somebody, for example, of NTSA teams to sit there so that there is what we call succession. I do not know how they handed over what they were handling. Then when you come to the point of parents, we do not know whether the PTAs are involved in, I don't know how they will manage because there are so many PTAs, but there should be a way to get one PTA or two to represent the interest of the parents and teachers associations of this country, because their duty is to ensure that this amount of money is safe. Look at the transition of NHIF, for instance. We do not know what happens to the NHIF in terms of the resources that will remain. Mm-hmm. But we are seeing a new fund being birthed. If it, I mean, when this fund comes up and it is put in eCitizen, where will this other fund go? Will it also be put as part of the resources that has been collected in eCitizen? So as much as the system looks good, the way we implement them is the issue. And let me surprise you from what I've read in the past. Kenyans have gone benchmarking in other countries. But what has shocked them, the guys who welcome them laugh at them and tell them what you are coming to benchmark came from your country. Kenyans are very good planners. They are very good economists, name it, every profession. They know how to plan, but our problem is on how to implement what we have planned. Good ideas, but when it comes to implementation, we miss the point. Maybe we need to start asking ourselves, where is our problem when it comes to monitoring and implementing the good programs that have worked elsewhere? Thank you.
Indeed.
And I just add again on what,
yes.
what Dr. is talking about. You remember, if we have this e-citizen thing, which I didn't really think about, we're going to lose almost 2 million jobs. Remember, people sit in cash offices all over the country, in government offices. There are people who receive cash in cash offices. You know, all these guys are out of job. Because of what? Because people will not be going to those cash offices anymore. People are using the online thing. So digital things are good. Machines are good. But sorry. But remember also that when we go digital, we lose jobs. So unless we will deploy, or we will be just paying people salaries and they're doing nothing. But remember the huge backlog of people who are working in government offices in spaces called cash offices, if we go cashless.
That's an interesting way to bring it out, that in terms of the jobs. But you know very well that the government is hell-bent on ensuring that we digitize all the 19,000, over 19,000 services. Of course, a lot of jobs are gonna end there. Yeah. But looking at the costs of these services, even if it's 1 shilling, if you ask me, I'm accessing government services. It's more or less, e-citizen is like the way Wanjiko goes, anasema nisaidia hapa, anataka unifanyie ABCD, right? Yeah. Now when on e-citizen, you have to pay a convenience fee or charge of 50 shillings. Yeah. A lot of Kenyans have brought issues in regards to that, and the senator also has gone to court to challenge that, because the government should not be taxing you for service provision.
Yes.
I'd like you to touch on that.
And where does it go?
Yeah, and first things first. Yeah. Where is this 50 shillings? The convenience, is it the maintenance of the website, or what exactly does it do?
It is where it goes, I know. It is shrouded in mystery.
And I believe that is why even these things have been challenged in court and they have gotten orders.
It is shrouded in mystery because according to our budget systems and according to our paper monies that are collected by government, all are always gazetted. they should have gazetted this convenience fee that this one is being charged like blah, blah, blah. I think the courts, if you ask me, they'll go the Madzayo way, because Madzayo says it's the reason why he's taking that there's no public participation, and then the 50 shillings convenience fee is shrouded in a lot of mystery. Now, apart from that, I mean, if you want to access these services, you know, it's a lot of money. Is 50 shillings for 19,000 services, and 19,000 to how many people? For example, in secondary schools, we have, last year we had almost 1 million people sit for KCSE. If 1 million people sat for KCSE, that means that from Form 1 to Form 4, there are almost 4 million. So 4 million people paying school fees. And remember, people don't pay school fees. Nobody gets, majority of Kenyans pay school fees like somebody gets 2,000 today, and you pay a convenience fee of
50.
Of 50, and tomorrow you get another 3,000, then you pay another 50. Nobody's going to pay like we have 54,000, then they pay 54,000. So every time you pay plus a convenience fee of 50 shillings. So I think that something needs to come so clear, yes, on how these things is created. That's why I'm saying it is a rushed migration, and there are things that if you don't put in place, they only end up in court, and that is why all government projects, we are behind schedule, from house levy to even the IEBC thing, to even now this one is going to court. So all government projects, all government ideas have to go to court, because even people cannot even sit down, because even a senator, if a senator goes to court, that means that he has even lost hope in parliament where I represent people. Because even this one should be discussed in parliament. And parliament should come with ideas like, or even just at administrative level, that actually this one we don't need to take it to court. This one we need to be able to discuss it, discuss about the convenience fee, communicate with the people that blah, 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 this is what we're doing. But when a senator has to go to court, that means that all of us have lost hope.
Just a minute, Oscar, and apologies. Let's first of all cross over. The CS for Sports, Ababu Namamba, is currently in Kenya LA Partnership Invention Studios, where the government of Kenya, together with the Invention Studios based in Hollywood, having a joint partnership to promote the production of Kenya stories through film and television. The CS is currently speaking. Let's first of all listen in.
3 important agreements. Agreements which I signed on behalf of our ministry here, on behalf of the government and of our country. We signed an agreement with the NBA, the National Basketball Association, to bring the NBA to Kenya and to Africa. We also signed an agreement with the Grammys to bring the benefits, the pedigree of the Grammys to Kenyan and African music and the African art scene. And finally, we signed an agreement with Invention Studios to build partnership in the film industry. I share these details because it is common for people to question why the president and government officials travel to different capitals of the world. And I want to tell you, this is one of the reasons why we travel. We travel so that we can explore available opportunities and forge partnerships that can deliver or make a difference in the lives of our people. It is also common for people to treat lightly deals that government strikes with partners in different parts of the world. So people will say Those are deals that will not go beyond the paper on which they are written. When in September we shared photos of myself and Nicholas here signing this agreement at the Kenyan consulate in Los Angeles, some may have looked at it as nothing more than a photo op to impress the media and to brag that we've been to LA. Well, I want to tell you that number one, we don't just travel for the sake of traveling. And number two, we don't sign things just for the sake of signing them. Anytime we put pen to paper, it's because we have a substantive agenda that we seek to advance through the partnerships we are forging. As we speak today, the NBA has already opened an office in Nairobi, and we firmly have the presence of the NBA here. The NBA has already established 2 elite basketball courts at the Kenya Academy of Sports at Kasarani, and we are already rolling out a robust basketball development program that will cascade across our entire schooling ecosystem. Deliberate, intentional, structured implementation of the agreement I signed with the NBA in New York in September 2023. As we speak here right now, our partnership with the Grammys has already taken root. I was in LA last week to attend the 66th Grammys Award at the Crypto.com Arena, after which I held a meeting with Mr. Panos Panay, the CEO of the Grammys, and we have agreed and signed an implementation framework on establishing the NBA presence in Kenya and the NBA presence in Africa. While in LA, I also took time to meet Nicholas. Did we meet over lunch or we just met? We met over something. We met to review the progress we have made since we signed the agreement in September, and we adopted an implementation matrix to roll out last September. And so, good people, we meet here today.
Sports CS Ababu Namwamba live from the Talanta Hela Plaza there in consultation and partnership that has just been signed by the Kenya government and by Invention Studios. I do remember in Jamhuri Day celebrations, the president said that the number of Hollywood studios are going to be pitching tent right here in the country that will also improve not only our talents in the theater, but also in film and television. We'll have a more detailed report in regards to that a little bit later in our later or subsequent bulletin. Allow me now to go back to our live discussion where we're looking at the legislative agenda. Right now, as we speak, yesterday we had extended invitation to a number of members of parliament, but they declined because a number of them are in-house committees this morning, including the lands, the justice, the interior, and later on they will be having plenary in the afternoon after the long recess. They are going back to parliament today, and their legislative agenda is quite packed. Three gentlemen are currently assisting us to unpack that. And allow me now to introduce Ishmael Nyaribo, who is a constitutional lawyer and also a leadership and governance expert. Karibu sana, wakili.
Thank you so much, Bontre. Thank you. Long time.
Yeah. And just a quick one. IEBC, because of the interest of time, IEBC is something that has been pending for years now, if you ask me.
Yes.
I think it was Yashpal Guy who had recommended that anything on elections, boundaries review should always be done in ample time. And as Daniel has noted that we have until end of next month, and the legislative agenda, the MPs have not yet quite, let's say, agreed on that. The NADCO report, there's the court orders. So where are we on this? And can we beat the deadline?
Yes, Bontroy, I think we must appreciate the reason behind every legislative enactment, every rules, laws. People need to understand the spirit behind it. That's what I'm concerned more. Such that you've seen the wars that politicians engage themselves in when we near to the elections. And some parties want to change a certain law to favor their cause. So I think the spirit of having the IEBC properly prepared is to avoid such mishaps, so that there's enough time for nomination, there's enough time to confirm the register, there's enough time to confirm, to do the disputes in accordance with the law. It's not just a question of saying, no, we want before 1 year or 2 years, we must make sure that, the commission is in place. But it is important, actually. The whole point here is to be prepared. Now, who is responsible for the unpreparedness? It is not the Kenyans, it is not the citizens. The person who is responsible for this delay is the unfairness of political parties. Political parties normally make a lot of mistakes during nominations. People go to court, they do this and that. You saw what happened in 2022. Was there a need to actually suspend and force out of office those 4 commissioners in the manner in which it was done? Was there any reason to do that? So political leaders always have some agenda which they want to achieve. So now these 4 were kicked out. I mean, the other 2, they remained there. One is gone, one is retiring. So we really do not have a commission as of now. Can you blame it on the citizens? Can you blame it on the law? No, the answer is no. The law is very clear. The law supports the citizens. It is the political interests that made sure that those 4 commissioners were kicked out of office. So now, then what about now? Why don't we have commissioners by now? Because, of course, you saw now, because of the disagreement in 2022, people are saying we have to audit what happened in 2022. We are in 2024. And they say, no, in fact, when we were still discussing 2022, you already sneaked names of a selection panel which you don't like. So it is all about political interests and political leaders. This country is messed and actually thrown into such confusion because of political leaders. For the citizens, yes. I mean, we are good. We wouldn't have minded if the commissioners stayed in office. You can see we don't mind William Ruto is the head of state. Yes. We are moving on. We don't mind if Kalonzo Musyoka becomes president. We will be happy still. So the problem is the inability of political leaders to wash themselves clean from the heart. And they always come up with this idea, they will lie to you, this is what we want to do, but finally you realize they don't mean it. So the major problem is actually
and somebody would say that our politicians are quite selfish, because not only are we looking at the boundaries review and IEBC having no commissioners, we are forgetting that there are some wards and constituencies who do not have representation for a year now.
Yes.
And from the look of things, we are not going to be having commissioners in the next 6 months. Let's be very honest.
And Bontroy, I mean, look at, sorry, I know my colleagues were talking earlier, so they are not prejudiced.
Yes.
You see the problem, there are proposals from some communities who want a county. I mean, people like Kuria, they honestly don't feel that they are represented because they belong to Migori County. You see, the Suba people don't necessarily feel that they are properly represented because they are bundled in, I think they are in Migori, isn't it?
The Suba
are they in Homa Bay?
No, they are in Homa Bay, but in Homa Bay they're okay.
They are both in both counties.
Yes.
But they wouldn't mind one.
So my point is, why are we not looking at such genuine claims? Because political leaders look at things very differently. In fact, as long as somebody is in office, they're happy. You may go sing, make complaints. As long as somebody is seated in the office like this, he's happy. You can see what we were promised with Kenya Kwanza. I mean, the moment they said, when I put down the Bible, I will deal with. I mean, once he's in office, everything has changed. So I think Kenyans should stop putting a lot of premium on political leaders. In fact, the moment Kenyans start to do that, You will have peace in your home. You will try to go and till your land and plant beans and eat. Other than following people all the way from parliament, you are in the streets. Today they are opening parliament. You will see a lot of young people will go there actually and waste their time. So we should stop putting a lot of premium on these political leaders and call them out and make sure they are accountable to the people of Kenya. So,
All right.
so they are the ones messing all these things. That's my point.
And let me do exactly what the
I
council
don't know
has
if
said.
he's not
Let's
happy
looking
if it's a
at
politician or something.
no, he's not yet.
Okay.
Let me pick from where Wakili has been. A lot of things we are putting a lot of faith on our politicians. Let's go to Wanjiko. One of the first things that was supposed to be looked into, Daniel, was the issue of cost of living. That was supposed to be, we decided let it be, let's go the parliament way, where we picked a few MPs from both sides. They're supposed to sit down. Now, what yesterday the Speaker of the National Assembly was talking about, the issue of cost of living was not on the agenda. Today, I know it's a House Business Committee is going to be set up. We are also looking at the chief, that is social health. We are talking about IEBC. But I'm not hearing the cost of living, which is still quite high. Daniel, do we have a remedy with our politicians as we go back to parliament today?
It is a hard nut to crack. Hard nut to crack because the strange thing about Kenya is politicians will come and ask for votes. Once they are voted, they bundle you, put you under the bus. They now become the know-it-all. They're the ones who understands what you want. As much as I'm a politician,
Yeah.
I should make that disclaimer.
Oh, you know.
I know. It is not good to promise them heaven but give them hell. The cost of living, if you listen to arguments of many people, it's not something that you need even to discuss every day. We said one thing the government needs to do is simply to reduce the pump price of a liter of diesel or a liter of petrol. And this was just in terms of the financial, the financial act that was passed. If the percentage that was increased of the VAT on fuel was just, it remained where it was, I believe we would be very okay.
And that is something they can do in parliament.
Yes. Once they do that, we are very okay. The second thing that I hear every day, Olabalus, is about the dollar and the people holding money because it's also affecting the cost of living. Because anything that's imported, the inflation rate and the holding of the dollar makes the price go high. But this is my question that I keep on asking myself. By the time these people are alleged to have hoarded the dollar must have been 118 or 120. Now it's above 160. My question is, any intelligent business person, would this person not have seen some profit and then return the money? Because if you have a $40 profit, definitely these people would have returned the money. So I'm beginning to ask myself, is it true really that dollars are being hoarded? Or is it something that we do not understand? There's something is happening that ordinary Kenyans don't know. Because if those dollars were flooded back to the market, then we would be able to reduce the cost of living too. And the most important one that I need to end up with is, if you look at the platform Kenya Kwanza came on, that is the border, that is the mama mboga. What is affecting the cost of transaction of the mama mboga and what's affecting the cost of transaction of the border person? It looks like nobody is interested in that. And no wonder somebody is bringing to tell us we now want to think about the office of the opposition. We want to think about how to put people into positions. That becomes dangerous. So my humble submission is they must put the cost of living in the agenda.
I'm quite sure you identify with that as being a Kenyan. That was one of the agendas that was supposed to be discussed by the two groups.
Yes, yes.
But unfortunately, now we are hearing about the office of the
Prime Minister,
official position.
Senate.
I've not heard anything regarding the cost of living. What should be the remedy?
I don't think if we have a solution, because there's one Patrick Chabal who wrote on African Works, and he said that disorder, he talks about disorder as a political instrument. The disorder that you see is not by default.
Man-made.
It is by design. You get me right? Somebody wants it to work like that because in that disorder, that is when they can benefit on whatever they want to benefit. Because that is what people in political office do. Because we have a parasitic elite. Whatever was going to be discussed, one time I told you about this, whatever was happening at Bomas, and I told you that whatever was at Bomas was not a national dialogue. It was an elite type of dialogue. If you come to class, I will be able to differentiate that an elite type of dialogue is a few elites, 10 of them, 5 from both sides that represent the elite, sit down and discuss, and they come up with ideas like, how do we give senators some senator fund, like the CDF? How do we give our MCAs also some fund
To cool them down.
Cool them down. Yeah, right. So there were no representative of the common Mwananchi, the Wanjiku at Bomas. When the Ashpal guy, National Dialogue Commission was at Bomas, there were 1,000 people. The Mamambogas were represented, and they came up with a robust document. But the one that was such the other day of getting a prime minister, let's get Senate fund, and let's get MCAs also something small, because MPs have something small. It is the elite agreeing, how do we share the spoils, because we've sat down here. So,
but Oscar, you agree,
Yes.
it quieted, I mean, the streets were a bit peaceful, and
all right.
maybe it was a strategy
Yeah.
to...
Gentlemen, allow us to take a quick break. We'll be right back. And there's a question I've seen here, and I'm quite sure it's directed towards you, Wakili, in regards to Law Society, has been quite vocal. And they have been at loggerheads with the head of state in regards to some of these directives that the head of state has given, or some of the policies. And now we hear there are some elections.
We are not at loggerheads, we are
GSC.
actually doing our work as lawyers.
You're
and
playing your part.
Probably the head
All
of
right,
state.
it's a good thing you clear that
That is a
and tell us
long
the differences between all these elections, including the JSC. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is KBC News Check, so that we may wrap it up and delve into matters. Heart Failure Awareness Week, which began on the 11th and will go all the way to the 17th. Another thing, it's World Radio Day. So something good for all the radio journalists out there. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Colgate Herbal is formulated from a unique blend of natural herbs and is scientifically proven to strengthen teeth and keep gums healthy. Try Colgate Herbal, scientifically proven for strong teeth and healthy gums.
Can I ask you something? Sure. What do you see in a guy like Amador Zuniga?
I'm sorry, you can't go further.
But he's my father.
I know, but you have to wait.
I know that I disappointed him, and that caused him a lot of pain. You need to go to the hospital. You don't want to give Lucia and everybody else more power to judge you.
Did he say anything?
He can't talk, Nora. He's in a coma.
Welcome back to KBC News Check. We're on the tail end of this conversation. I have Ishmael Nyaribo, who is a constitutional lawyer and also a political analyst. We also have Oscar Mondi, who is a political analyst and also a lecturer in one of the universities, and Daniel Mugoria, who is a governance expert. And also, it's a good thing you've cleared the air that you're politicians so that we may not judge you for making some political stands. Anyway, we are wrapping it up. The first things first is that Bunge is having its session today after a recess of about 4 months. 3 4 months. So quite a long one. And the first order of day will be the establishment of the House Business Committee. Then the plenary will commence tomorrow. And some of the things that we are expecting, the NADCO report, we're expecting a number of issues to be raised in regards to the IEBC formation and also the chief. We also have the housing. So it's an entry for our members of parliament. Yesterday, Speaker Moses Wetangula said they have to minimize, the MPs have to minimize their travel because they have a lot of ground to cover. But before we went for that break, Ishmael, we were talking about, somebody had asked in regards to, you've cleared the air. We are not at loggerheads with the head of state. LSK is not having issues with the head of state, but you are just uncomfortable with some of the policies and some of the things that have been done. Somebody has asked in regards to the LSK has some elections, and we hear that there will be some nominations to people at the JSC. How is that?
Well, I don't know who was asked that one. It could be Mischief or some opponent. But you see, lawyers, under the Law Society of Kenya Act, part of the objectives of the Law Society is to ensure that they advise the government as well as the public on all matters law. That is why, Bonto, you are not allowed to come in and just represent somebody in court just like that, because you've got to go through, this is a regulated industry, you've got to go through, you know, unless it's a common ordinary petition that you're filing. And then you can, of course, do it yourself. You can even represent others. But in terms of law, it is Law Society. So when you see lawyers coming out to say the head of state is overstepping his mandate, it is absolutely their right to do that. Number two, the government is such a big monster. Not only in Kenya, by the way, all over the world, governments are extremely powerful. In fact, so powerful, they can determine the way you live your life, and they can actually determine the way you die as well. So that is why we have judicial review proceedings to enable the court to intervene where the government is so overbearing or a public institution is so overbearing on the citizens. So you ask about the elections. This comes every other 2 years, where lawyers have to decide who goes to sit in the council to now help them, do all these, fulfill the objectives of the society. And Fito Diambo, Kamende, Bernard Kipkorir, my good friend PMO, Patrick Wanyama, and our fiery lady Mboshe. These are the people who have come to contest for that presidential seat. That is for the council. When you talk about the Judicial Service Commission, it's a totally different thing, because that comes every 5 years. Once, the commission, the way it is constituted, allows for the state, public service, the head of state, the Attorney General, they all send their representatives. Now, Law Society of Kenya, being a major player, in fact, even judges, magistrates, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, they each have a representative. So, because Law Society plays such a central role in administration, in advising the public and the government on law, they have been given 2 slots. One is a female representative, the other is a male representative. So how do they then appoint such a person or nominate a person to sit in the JSC? They have to vote for him. So what the law provides is, if during the time of the elections of the council, it falls within 3 months of the same time when the term of the commission at the JSC is ending, these elections can be conducted together. And that's why this time around, they're being conducted together for JSC and the council. I think that clarifies. But the person who goes to the 2 people who are going to the JSC are extremely supposed to be independent and not working on the LSK members' affairs. They are supposed to be independent to look at the whole national justice demographics in terms of where is justice failing, where do judges need facilitation, is employment of judges and court staff being done correctly. That is a totally different area. In fact, those commissioners are supposed to be very, very independent. But I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, I'm quite sure the person asked the question because we have seen LSK every time there's a policy. They started way back with opposing the housing. They have opposed even some have opposed the e-citizen as well. But
I mean, if you remember from history, whether it's Rachel Mamo, whether it's Paul Muite, whether it is Okongo Mogeni, whether it is whoever was president, whether it was Nelson Havi, one of the most fiery presidents we had in the wrong time. I mean, in the wrong time because it was COVID, and then the whole council was young, and there was a bit of fights. But that is how lawyers are supposed to be, because they are not just supposed to be agreeing with the president. That's why you see they are really, really, up against the Chief Justice for going to meet the president. By the way, the Chief Justice is okay. She has not necessarily breached any law by going to sit with the president. If you look at the principles of corporate governance, that is what she has to do as one of the arms of government. But the problem, one, is the timing. Two, is she's portraying herself like she's under the executive. That is where the problem is, and lawyers must come out. And Bontre, where we are that's why it becomes extremely scary if you find a lawyer who has some affiliation or connection with the State House or the executive, who is friends with the executive, going to sit in these critical independent offices, because then we are finished. That is why you see lawyers always trying to avoid any lawyer who appears to be so close with power or so close with State House or executive is normally shunned, because he will not be as independent as he ought to be when he's discharging his mandate.
All right. Gentlemen, as we wrap up, I know the Parliament will have a whole in-tray, and there's something that we cannot just let go like that. The president's visit, he was in Japan. We hear about 350 billion was signed. Of course, away from the questions of how many trips the president is making, the details that he is having, he is bringing, these trips are bearing some fruits. Oscar.
Yeah, I think the Japan one, although sometimes they go and come here, but the people don't see the fruits. I think the one for Japan, I'm still not sure, but over this one, I think he signed very good deals for the country, and we are hoping that they come. And now we're thinking about in terms of grants also to help our economy, because I'm not sure if in June we'll be able to pay our loan. Yeah, we might default.
I'm quite sure that's why they're very true.
Yes. Yeah. If we default on this one, then you see the prices of things will go up and we will be messed up as a country. So I think the president going to Japan over this one was a good idea. And if he signed those deals and that money is coming, I support such a move. Otherwise, going to, like, for example, sometimes he goes to these other countries without Italy and all this, where he's not really, they're suffering.
He seems to like Japan.
No, he's just suffering economies. You see, I mean, really, we know what happens in other economies. There's money in China. There's money in Japan. There's some money, a little bit, not so much, but some money in Europe, but there's no money in Italy. They're also just going through very difficult situations that we are going through, So sometimes going there to just, like Flower Girl, is just like, just some trips. Yeah, going to Djibouti, for example, or going to some Togo or some funny countries like our country. Sometimes it's just a waste of time and all this. But I think Japan, and whatever they signed, they want to assemble vehicles here. They want.
And of course, with Japan, we've had a number of
there are things that we can write home about,
including JICA.
Because JICA has done so much good things here, and even if it is loans, we don't need very expensive loans, and we just check out our economy, how is our economy doing, and what are the priorities that we put in place. So I think this was a good thing.
All right, Daniel, wrap it up for us, because we are talking about the entry for Parliament, and of course there are some things that we can't just let them go. They will also be looking at, just like Oscar's mentioned, that we have also the Eurobond in the month of, is it June?
June, yeah, it's
June. June, over 200 billion US dollar, USD, not even Kenya shillings. And our legislators, the legislative agenda, what should they prioritize as we get into the next session of Parliament that is beginning today?
Maybe before I wrap up, now that I've been here to see Honorable Ababu Namwamba launch the issue to do with the film industry, the partnership. It's a very good venture, but it's good for the CS and his team to look at the very expensive amount of money that film producers have to pay in terms of producing films. I look at it, especially our comedians and even our upcoming young people, like where I interact with them. The amount of money they are charged for camera and for doing for taking films, it has made it hard for them to do what they want to do. And as much as we give him our thumbs up for what he's doing, he also needs to look deeper so that to bring more people into the industry. When I come to the legislative agenda, I do not know how the House Business Committee will prioritize these agendas because they must look at the timelines. Look at which bills are very urgent because of the expiry, constitutional expiry of time or legislative expiry of time. Very good point, legislating point is the Social Health Insurance Fund, which if you do not prioritize it, there'll be people who need operation, there'll be people who need to visit their doctors. They need that fund to be in operation. When you look at the IBC, because of the timelines of boundary review, then they need to prioritize. But even if they did it, I agree with you that they will not be ready by April unless they will do something about boundary review outside the law. Then we have the house levy, which and that is my second last, then I conclude. The house levy, if they followed what the the judgment that was given and prioritized what was in the judgment, I believe they'll do a better law in terms of housing. They should not throw what the judges said in court and what arguments were put in court. And the last one is on the, on the e-citizen, the House should come to look at how better can the government utilize the e-citizen platform so that we don't have an issue where we have a problem. And finally, we have the issue of 2023 appropriation. The national budget was done, but some of this money has not been implemented. And we are beginning another process of budget.
All right.
How will Parliament mitigate in future that we do not always do the budgeting only to plan for supplementary or even not utilize that money? Thank you.
All right. Just 30 seconds.
I think that our MPs, number one, should feel the people, should actually understand the plight of Kenyans. And I think this responsibility squarely lies on the Kenya Kwanza MPs, who are more in the House. Of course, it's a fake majority, but at least they are more in practice. So I think they should feel Kenyans. They should be gravitating more towards agreeing with what the Azimio counterparts are talking about people's plight. So they should not allow themselves to go into Parliament and just enact rules because they please themselves. Because sooner or later, these guys will not be in Parliament anyway. They will be outside. They will suffer the same pain that Kenyans are. So in my view, really, parliaments must be responsible. And again, our young people are dying Bentro. Who is in charge? Who is in charge of all these murders we are? I mean, is it the Minister for Cabinet Secretary Security? No, it is the whole corporate, entity called Kenya. Why are our young people dying, especially girls? They are coming to visit you, they go back dead. What is the problem? Do we need to review the death penalty? I mean, people are dying. You're suspected of murder today and tomorrow you are out. So I think for me, these are some of the issues, the issue of security, that members of parliament should look and put stricter stricter laws, or rather, application of the law. We actually have very good laws, but stricter processes through the police and through the Ministry of Internal Security to ensure that we have peace in the country. Yes.
All right, all right. Thank you indeed so much, gentlemen. Ishmael Nyaribo, a constitutional lawyer and also a leadership and governance expert. Just next to him, we have Oscar Omondi, who is a political scientist and also a lecturer. And far left, we have Daniel Mugoria, I've gotten it right now, who is a governance and leadership expert. We are discussing the legislative agenda. Parliament, a number of committees currently underway. In the afternoon, we have the plenary, where they will, first of all, the first agenda will be the setting up of the House Business Committee. From there on, they will continue with the other plenary and a number of issues to be discussed. The Speaker, Moses Wetangula, said that MPs should brace for quite a bumpy one and should cut on their travel. Where we are looking at the Heart Failure Awareness Week, we're looking at Matters Medical in the second hour, and talking about Matters Medical, CS Health is at the Safari Park Hotel for the KEMRI Annual Scientific Conference, where she's currently addressing the gathering. We will be back with more on health matters as we celebrate Heart Failure Awareness Week.
To cover all Kenyans under the Emergency and Critical Illness Fund is not good. What is your alternative? Because as scientists, you must have solutions. And you know me, many people even doubt whether I went to school. So I really listen to those who have gone to school. I really listen to those who have gone, because it's from that I gain some knowledge. So let's be solution providers. And we have a big space, especially in KEMRI. As a country, we are struggling with NCDs. The doctors here can tell you, Kiptui, isn't it? We are struggling. The other day I was in Taita Taveta, and they're putting up a cancer center. And they said the cancer that is so prominent there is the one for esophagus. So they were asking me, could there be something that we are doing? Could there be a problem with the water? Or what is it that we have this type of cancer being so prominent here? And I said, that is the job of KEMRI. How am I supposed to know? Isn't it not KEMRI? So there's work for everyone. Please, take it up. Find out, why is it that in Taita Taveta there's so much esophagus cancer? And I'm told it's the same with I think people from Kericho and the northern Kenya. So you can help your people, Chair, by ensuring that KEMRI tells us what is the cause of that. Let me take this opportunity to thank the CASH conference organizers, Dr. Cecilia Mbae. I like it when I see when I see women power. And seated next to Professor Nelly there, women power, you know. And you have directors here, you know. Please, let's run this space. And run it well. Amalamnagan? Yes. And the boy child, don't. You are the majority anyway. We are minority, but support us. So thank you very much, Dr. Cecilia, for putting together this wonderful conference. I'm told we have very many international participants. I want to say, Karibu Kenya. While here, I believe this is the most beautiful city that has a park in the middle of the city Please create some time during the evenings. Those who are running the conference, allow people some good time in the evening so that they can move around and sample what Kenya has. Equally, this place, Safari Park, has a very good menu. Please sample the delicacies of Kenya.
That held CS Susan Nakumicha there at the Safari Park Hotel during the KEMRI Annual Scientific Conference. And a number of issues that she has been able to mention. The good thing is that we'll be able to talk about them here, and especially when it comes to some of the illnesses that we are seeing in some parts of the country. That is a discussion that we'll be having on, but we will center that on Heart Failure Awareness Week that is commemorated globally from the 11th to the 17th, right, Doc? Yes. And we will be looking at some of these issues. And one thing that has come out of a lot of heart illnesses is that a number are exacerbated by poor nutrition. So we will combine that. And without further ado, allow me to introduce Dr. Stephen Omondi, who is a physician and cardiologist at the Karen Hospital. Karibu sana, Doc.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much indeed for making time.
It's a great honor.
Just next to him, we have Josephine Mbudi, who is a nutritionist with the Karen Hospital. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
And first things first, Doc, we are seeing a rise in the number of heart conditions in the country. Maybe you can give us a brief overview. What exactly, when we say heart failure, what exactly do we mean?
All right, thank you. So when we say heart failure, you know, the heart is a pump that pumps blood. So when the heart is not working well, that's heart failure. And when the heart is not working well and the person is having symptoms because the heart is not working well, that what doctors agree is heart failure. Just to say a bit more, the heart may not be working well because it is weak, so it can't pump. When it receives blood, it doesn't pump out enough blood to meet the need of the body. Or the heart may be able to do that, but it is so stiff that it's not very easy to feel, so difficult for the heart to feel. So you can either have a situation where the heart is weak, so that is not pumping well, or the heart is too stiff. Commonly, it's a combination of the two. And we get to know the patient got heart failure because of how they feel. So you may have those conditions but don't have any symptoms. So when you have the symptoms is when you know, oh, this is heart failure. So to summarize, it is a pump that is not working well. The pump being the heart is not working well. That's what heart failure is.
And it's a good thing to note that you have over 30 years where you've had an initiative to ensure that you have an event that caters for heart. You have runs. I've seen a number of hospitals do the same thing. Maybe you can touch on that before we unpack the whole heart condition.
Yes. So heart failure is such a serious condition. It's very common, and there's been a concerted effort among stakeholders to try and control the levels in the country. So at Karen, we do quite a bit. We have the heart run you're talking about. We run several clinics. We run a dedicated heart clinic in the hospital itself. We see on average about 80 patients a day. Majority of those, not the majority, about a quarter of them will have established heart failure. The remaining, about a quarter of them again will have hypertension, which we'll talk about as a major risk for heart failure. The remaining about half of them would have conditions that if not treated will actually eventually result in heart failure. So you see it's actually the entire clinic is all about heart failure if you think about it, the different stages of heart failure. Then we have satellite clinics, most of them are in central Kenya, so we have in Nakuru, we have in Meru, we have right here in Thika. Those clinics, we run a clinic every week, and we see 2-day clinic every week. And we see about 120 patients in those clinics. And again, the proportion will be the same. About a quarter of those will have established heart failure. The remaining ones will have risk factors that, if not treated, will eventually result in heart failure. So it's a major problem. Worldwide, we have about 64 million people that have been recorded as having heart failure. In Kenya, we may not have very concrete data on how many patients we have. But similar to Karen, the other places are reporting similar numbers. So we know it's a growing problem, increasingly growing problem that needs to be addressed. So indeed, heart failure is a major concern.
Josephine, they say garbage in, garbage out. We are what we eat. How are heart conditions related to nutrition?
Nutrition is key, both even in prevention and in management of even the heart diseases. But in nutrition, it's not really what you're eating, but also how much you're eating. And worldwide, you find that obesity, overweight is also a cause of or basically a risk factor of even some of the heart failure, or risk factor of heart failure. But even what happens is that you find that the choices that we are making is what the food choices, the lifestyle choices that we are making is what that is increasing our chances to heart failure. Like globally, half of the population right now, even in Kenya, we have both obesity and overweight. And you see right now, because of the diets, and especially right now, we are choosing more of the convenience foods. Other than getting a healthy meal, you find that because of even time, the work generation, you find that we do mandazis, we do chapatis, we do chips. Like right now among the young people, the takeout is mainly chips and chicken. So with that, they carry on those lifestyle practices even in their adult ages. And you find that even in heart failure and even the diseases like hypertension, it's not a one-day event. So it's chronic. That means it took time, and it's a collection of the choices that you make. So even in terms of nutrition, and that is why even as Karen Hospital, much of the 80% or more of the patients that we see daily are either overweight or obesity, and they've come also with other conditions like diabetes, hypertension, that also put them at risk of heart failure.
And in a continent and in a country where the bigger you are, the more healthy we view you, how do we change that perception? Because the obesity is something that a lot of people do not think is a risk factor. They think it's healthy, and when you have a big tummy,
you're richer.
Yeah, you're richer, and you're more respected. So a lot of people don't take care of the bodies. The bigger you are, the better.
What I can say, yes, tradition, the way we've been brought up knowing, even when you get married, you're told you have to feed your husband. And even for you as a spouse, your husband has to really feed you, because the more you increase in weight, the more they think that you're doing well. So you find that it's basically education. We do a lot even when it comes to educating them about the pros and cons of having of being actually overweight, of being obesity, and because that is what is increasing the risk of all these issues. So it's basically education and awareness, and that's why also many people or many hospitals are partnering even with the media, be it audio, print, and visual, to try and educate the public that whoever you are right now can be a reflection of what you get in the future. Yes.
And when we talk about heart failure, are we talking about something that cannot be corrected, or there is a remedy for that? Because I'm looking at an engine perspective. When we say that vehicle has an engine failure, there's something that we can do, and maybe we can even replace that engine. What happens when it comes to a person?
Yes, indeed, heart failure is a serious condition. It's life-threatening. Sometimes actually it shortens the life of a person. It's life-limiting. You live with it, can be quite life-limiting. You're not able to do the things you want to do. But there's good news, as you say. There are very effective treatments currently available right in our country. And a lot of the patients that we treat that are on those medicines actually able to lead their normal lives. And a lot of these people will live a long life. So indeed, it's a serious condition. It can limit your life. It can limit your ability to do your physical activities. But there's good news. Apart from medicine, so medicines are available all over the country. The reach may not be as we would desire. We'd want more people who have got heart failure to get these medicines at affordable rates. But in any big center, you'll find the core medicines for heart failure. And the doctors know about them, and they do prescribe them. Now, when those medicines don't work, sometimes we have other devices that we can give. There are special pacemakers that can be implanted to help the heart coordinate how it pumps. Now, those are not available everywhere. In Karen, we do have them. In Nairobi, you'll have centers with those as well. So those can be used to help the patient as well. Many patients with heart failure die from abnormal heart rhythm, so they die suddenly, and you need a special devices or pacemakers in quote that can be used to prevent those sudden deaths. So this treatment is not all bad news. If you don't treat it, it's actually more dangerous than actually many cancers. But when treated, you can live a normal life. So the message would be, fine, it is a condition that can limit your life, but if you treat it, you will live a relatively normal life. Of the quote I was telling you about, when you sit with them on the bench, you will not know which of them actually have got established heart failure because they're already on treatment, they're doing well. It is very rare that we find the patient that is refractory to treatment, that is resistant to treatment. Now, is that small percentage, less than 1%, in fact, that may require a referral elsewhere for a cardiac or a heart transplant. but it's also actually off the mind. I cannot remember one patient in my practice that had to go abroad for a heart transplant. So it's one of those conditions that you can actually be treated right here in Kenya, effectively right here in Kenya, and the treatments are available. And for the majority, they don't even require the devices that you need to come to Karen for. They just require to be seen in Karen for the medicine, or those that offer a heart failure. But now the small percentage that require these devices, they're available here. We have the technique to implant them, and they help patients a lot. So yes, so a serious condition, but has got treatment. Yeah.
How widespread is it? Because I'm looking at the medical scape in the country where a lot of people do not go for diagnosis. You know, you just decide today, let me just go and find out how my kidney, how my liver, how my heart is. It's only when I hear a sharp pain somewhere or I have some symptoms, that is when I go. And I believe that is why we have so many cancer cases, because they are diagnosed when it's too late. How widespread is it in Kenya? And diagnosis themselves, diagnostics of any heart condition in the country.
All right. So the good news is that heart failure as a condition itself is actually a disease. So it's a condition, it's a syndrome that is where you arrive from many diseases. So there are many diseases that can cause heart failure at the end. Now, heart failure itself can be diagnosed easily just by talking to the patient. But to be able to categorize the patient and say this heart failure is coming from this condition, I should be treated this way, that may require some special attention, and that's where the heart doctors come in. So with a simple ultrasound called an echocardiogram, you can be able to tell which kind of heart failure you're dealing with and treat it. We have a device called an ECG that studies the heart rhythm, and from that we can tell roughly what's causing your heart problem. Because some people get heart failure from very fast heart rhythms, for example, or from very slow heart rhythms, and those can be treated. I said before that heart failure is a serious condition in most cases, but there are actually some cases where you can actually completely reverse the heart failure. So you can treat it and actually cure it in some cases. Though majority of patients that have got heart failure have got a problem with the heart muscle from different conditions, and those may not necessarily be cured, but they can be treated very effectively and they can live long. But they are about seeking healthcare and just trying to find out, what do I have? My colleague Josephina said correctly that hypertension is the most common cause. The majority of patients that we see in Kenya with heart failure actually have got untreated hypertension. And to diagnose hypertension, you just need to put a device on your arm, dial it, and get a reading. Once you get that reading, interpreting is actually not very difficult, because there are many devices that can tell you what the readings are. But it's just the exercise of just checking your blood pressure, and once you're diagnosed with hypertension, treating it, that will eliminate quite a number of people that we see with heart failure. Because in our country, untreated hypertension is actually the most common cause of heart failure. Yeah. The other causes where the valve has a problem in children, for example, is a common problem. And those two, just with an ultrasound, we can tell that your valve has a problem and it is severe enough to require treatment. Many of those people that have got severe valve disease will require surgery, and even that is available right here in Kenya. In fact, Karen is one of the centers that offer the valve transplants and all that. So to diagnose it, you just need to talk to a clinician. They don't have to be very specialized in their field. They'll know, because it's a syndrome. Based on a list, they tell, oh, this patient most likely has got heart failure. Now from there, you may need specialized tools to be able to tell which kind of heart failure is it, about the treatment that you really need. Yes. All right,
and just a minute, Doc, because we will be getting back to that conversation, the cost of the therapy, anything we talk about, the medicine, everything's a little bit on the higher side. How do we ensure that even the mamambogas, the boda-bodas, they can access not only the treatment of these heart conditions, but also the diagnosis? Because, as you said, Karen Hospital, we have only a number of hospitals who are fully equipped to deal with heart conditions. But hold the thought. Let's first of all cross over to the Biblica House, where televangelist Benny Hinn is expected in the country end of this month, and there's a presser in that regard. Let's first of all hear what they have to say.
We will receive any question from him, and we shall answer. Yes, sir.
Can you say something in Swahili?
Yes, sir. Archbishop myself.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
From KBC. And my question is, what is that one specific lesson that you expect the country or the Kenyans to learn from that crusade that will shape up the entire country and even the landscape of the religious sector? Thank you so much.
Next.
Two or three questions. First, maybe whom do you expect in terms of influential person to attend the crusade, maybe including the president or first lady, someone else? That's one. The second one is maybe how much is costing to host this event, if it's possible? And three is maybe you mentioned that the event will be televised through different media platforms. Is it possible maybe we know which, like maybe TV stations, so that when we write our story, Kenyans should know that they can tune in to different media houses? Thank you.
So just we will do two. The first one he is asking what the thing we should learn, one thing. And then the other one, the first one, that you gentlemen never introduced yourself. You said it from which media house? KBC. No, the second one. KBC. Standard. Yes. Bishop Omai will answer the first two questions, and then we shall answer the others. So the KBC man, let's do one. Maybe we don't carry a lot. KBC man, Omai, you can answer the KBC man, the first one.
Thank you very much. As you have heard, I'm Bishop Kefa Omai, the presiding bishop of Redeemed Gospel Church Incorporated, where I serve under Bishop Arthur Kitonga, who is the founder of the ministry. That's a very good question, because every event and occasion has an objective and has a purpose. When we read the Bible, whenever God wanted to visit his people and do something in any nation or community, he sent his prophets. And the prophets will come with a specific message. We believe Pastor Ben Hinn is coming to this wonderful country with the message of restoration. We believe he's coming with a message that will revive this nation in all aspects. We believe that this is a Kairos moment, God's appointed time for this nation to have an encounter with God through his servant, Pastor Ben Hinn. God bless you.
Yeah, just on to that is that we are expecting a lot of things to be healed in this nation. Whenever a man of God visits a place, there is always a visitation of God. And whenever God goes to a place, things change. So we are expecting, because he carries that anointing, there will be healing in many sectors in this nation. I'll answer the other two. The issue of budget, of course, we are...
Very well. That has been a section of the clergy there at the Biblical Guest House. They are responding to questions by journalists of various media houses in regards to the 24th and 25th of this month visit by popular televangelist Benny Hinn. And that's just the organizing committee. They are giving us a glimpse of what to expect in the 2 days that the popular preacher will be here. But away from that, we are discussing matters Heart Failure Awareness Week, which began on the 11th, gonna go all the way to the 17th. And I have experts from the Karen Hospital to help us understand some of the questions, some of the issues that come around in regards to heart failure. And just a quick one is that the Karen Hospital is also taking part in the awareness campaign, because it's a global thing. And they are also having a specific checkup promotion for both men and women. And without further ado, allow me to reintroduce them. We have Dr. Stephen Omondi, who is a physician and also a cardiologist. And next to him, we have Madam Josephine Mbudi, who is a nutritionist. Of course, it goes hand in hand. And before we went for the break, you will tell us more about in regards to how, and you've talked about a promotion. You know, anything heart condition, diabetes, these are some of the issues that bring down a lot of families in regards to the costs. A lot of vehicles have been sold, cows have been sold, land has been sold. How exactly is you guys as Karen Hospital coming in? Because you've talked about a promotion. You'll tell us a little bit more on that. But we have talked about heart diseases, and the last time Doc has mentioned even in kids where we find some heart conditions in kids. Is this an isolated case? Because we've had, also my mom has issues of hypertension, and she's at least 8, she's almost 80 years old. But we are talking about kids. And when you talk about lifestyle, we have a lot of people who are obese, who are quite young, some are old. Do you have any age where somebody is a little bit more vulnerable?
What I will say is that all heart failure is not usually a respecter of age. We also even have congenital heart diseases. But what we usually say, it starts right from the womb. And that's why we encourage mothers to just go for their antenatal checkups. They get their ultrasound checked up and all that. But sometimes you find that even after these children start maybe eating meals, and that is around complementary feeding starts at 6 months, you find that it's the awareness that the mother has of what foods to give the children, so that even if they are growing, they are developing in terms of other organs inclusive of the heart, the meals that they're having are able health-wise to actually support those organs that they're growing. But now you find that women, or basically mothers, focus mainly, maybe because of the cost of meals, and especially right now the food prices have really gone high. You find that mothers focus on basically vegetables and carbohydrates, or basically proteins and carbohydrates, mainly because it's now costing much to even have a balanced meal on the table. So you find that focusing on one group of food will give you a lot of energy, so that is where now an increase of energy consumption now will lead to storage, and that will now lead to overweight and obesity. And we're having that a lot even in the children right now, and even the schools they are going to, there's not much activity unless maybe when they close down schools, or even with, and especially in the Nairobi setups, you find that many kids, most of the children are not doing activities. So it's mainly television or basically their gadgets. So we are basically educating and creating awareness, but you find that most people, because of their awareness, they think that heart failure is mainly in adults. And that is why you find that most of the people actually who access healthcare are adults. But of importance to note is that many people come to the hospitals when these symptoms have already set in. So you find that nutrition is actually for prevention, and that is why even the promotion you're talking about, you're encouraging people even during this Valentine's
it's tomorrow.
yes, it's tomorrow. Kindly get your spouse or even your partner basically a package of checkup, and right now they've been designed in a way it's even pocket friendly. You find that even with 10,000 you can actually get a checkup. You don't really have to wait for you to be unwell for you to actually go for checkup. And the good thing, I don't know about most of the hospitals, but in Karen, all of these checkups have nutrition. And that's why now you come to me, I educate you, I create awareness, we discuss about diets, because diets are individualized. They are not one diet for everyone. If that was so, we wouldn't be there. But because of the fact that these diets are individualized, we'll sit down with you and actually look, what have you been doing in the past? What goals can we set down? And then I educate you, these are the healthier foods, these are the foods that once you eat, they can actually put you at more risk of either diabetes, hypertension, obesity, overweight, which are basically a precursor of heart failure.
Yeah, and also be looking at the nutrition, looking at the past couple of days, the high cost of living, the high cost of food prices. A number of Kenyans, even the working class, cannot put even 3 meals on the table. And you're telling us now we need to observe a strict diet or some sort of a diet so that we may not get into this. You will tell us a simple regimen that we can adopt, and especially for people who have conditions, not only heart diseases, we have diabetes and others as well. But Doc, I'm talking about the heart, diabetes. These are some of, if you ask me, the most expensive diseases, kidney diseases, most expensive diseases we have in the country. And as the hospital, you've decided to come up with a project, or more or less like a scheme that Kenyans can get not only advice, just like Madam Josephine has talked about, but checkup at subsidized cost. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when you talk about the cost, it depends on where you are meeting the cost. So as Josephine is saying, prevention will cut off most of the costs. You've said correctly that the most common causes are hypertension. things like diabetes, cigarette smoking. A lot of people with these diseases get them because of their lifestyle, their lifestyles. So you can start by preventing at that level. Now, people may not be aware. So in Karen and other places as well, they have wellness clinics where you can come at least once every year, have some of these things checked, have your blood pressure checked, not because necessarily that single blood pressure reading, but it establishes the habit that I'm aware that this is a risk, I need to keep on checking my blood pressure from time to time. So just coming for wellness, having your kidneys checked, makes you be aware that the kidney is an organ that's important, and we need to check how it is working. Now, if you meet the cost at that point, it's not very costly. And from time to time, we have campaigns, like actually now we have a campaign where there's, right at the entrance, there's a camp, there's a tent where we're checking your blood pressure as you come in and just looking at your weight and giving some recommendations based on those. But then there's also a clinic that runs every day, in fact every day including Saturday. Not always, it's only off on Saturdays, on Sundays. Now that clinic is a wellness clinic. It has got a dedicated team. You come in, they'll talk to you and they'll do some of these checkups. Now when you wait for the blood pressure to be established as a condition and the diabetes, the costs go up. So when that time comes, now you're at the point where you now prevent the complications. And one complication of these conditions is heart failure. So you'll prevent them by taking your medicines as prescribed. And just when you say maybe a bit later, some of these things can be reversed just by changing your lifestyle. So even at that point, you can just reverse your, just pay more attention. And I'm glad in this studio, you are all small-bodied. So you're already doing the right thing. And a lot of people are actually becoming aware of the effect, the effect of being obese or smoking cigarettes. So you don't see a lot of people smoking, but we're not where we're supposed to be, and that's why we have this kind of shows. Now, once the heart failure is established, the cost goes up. So it's an incremental cost. Yes, it piles up, and you don't want to get there. But when you get there, there are good medicines. In fact, you can get medicines at a cost of about 1,000 bob a month, which is a lot for many people, but it will prevent you from reaching a point where you can't work and the heart failure becomes a major problem. Sometimes it can even lead to a loss of life, and this can be prevented. And the devices I was talking about, the cost is partly normally borne by the patient, but partly the government, like NHIF, while it has been running, it chips in. Actually, sometimes it pays a quarter to half the cost of these procedures. So many people still cannot reach cannot meet the cost of what is required. But at least there's something happening, and there are ways in which people can be helped to meet the costs that are required. But I'll say again, just work on prevention. When you see your weight is reaching a certain level, try and cut down the waste. There's not much cost in that. And the foods you're talking about, the wholesome foods you're talking about, are not as costly as the fast foods. The cost of eating 100 grams or 200 grams of ugali, you cannot compare with the cost of eating chips or, yes. So choose the wholesome foods that are not dangerous to your life. And then just keep monitoring the weight. That does not require a lot. Even as you walk in the corridors of, you will see, in most of these places you see weighing machines. Just take your weight and be aware that I need to be a certain weight to prevent these conditions. So yeah, but once it is established, the cost can be quite a bit. And if you're at that point, you can be helped to meet the cost by the government. Partly, it's not a big package, but let's try not to get there where now we have to meet the cost.
And I've also noticed that a number of hospitals, I'm quite sure even Karen Hospital, when we have awareness to a certain disease on that week or on that month, you have some subsidized rates to cushion Kenyans. So how much are we talking about if I am to come today?
Yes.
To the hospital to have a wellness check in regards to my heart? How much are we talking about?
So the first waiver that you'll get is a free consultation, which typically is to see a specialized doctor is about 3,000 to 5,000 shillings. That cost, once it is waived, that's a big cost. And then when we run these campaigns, we do the ultrasound, the echo. We do them normally at half cost. So that will be like 3,000 to 4,000 depending on which campaign we are running. And the ECG, which is usually about 2,000 shillings, may be the half of that cost. So during these campaigns, the costs indeed are way subsidized, or at least some of them actually waived. Yeah. And
Madam Josephine, I'm looking at the Kenya as a country of extremes. When we don't have food, and even some people in some years we reported some deaths in regards to lack of food. But when you have extreme, that is where you're coming in and saying that you should watch, you should watch your weight.
Yes.
Based on the current economic turmoil, what advice can you tell Kenyans in regards to observing not only their weight, but what they eat?
Okay. Maybe I can start by saying, according to the deaths, malnutrition is not just the thin person that you see who is almost dying, but actually overweight and obesity is malnutrition, because malnutrition is either an overindulgence or an under meet of basically nutrition needs. And what I can say, and especially let me even talk to mainly the town setup people, is that we have been, as we are growing up, we do mainly the vegetables, the plant sources of foods. But once you start working, once you start earning an income, you find that they shift from actually taking the healthier foods to actually taking more of the foods that are actually leading to some of these conditions. And that is why you find that, like right now, a kilogram of meat is costing about 600 to 700, or even 800, depending on which part of Kenya you're at. That same 1 kg of meat, which you will take maybe as a family one sitting or even 2 meals in a day, is the same cash that you can actually go and maybe buy a kilo of beans. Like now, a kilo of beans is going for from about 150 to 250 per kilo. And when you boil that kg of beans, you find that it takes you to even about 2 to 3 meals. Yeah. So I think it's basically educating the people, knowing that if you have that 1,000 shillings, if you want to do mainly meat sources or maybe this, the highly refined foods, then it will only cost you a meal. But when you start feeding on foods that you were brought up with, it's actually cheaper. Okay, so even as you come into the nutrition department, or even when you come into a consult, we'll sit down with you and see, do you have a space even for kitchen gardening? But if you're in Nairobi, what are the parts whereby you can even get the same 100, you can actually get more vegetables even for that 100. So that is why I was saying every individual is different. Even as you come in for a consult, like Dr. Omondi was saying, like right now, even for the checkups, all those checkups have a dental checkup, have a nutrition checkup. Even on that, let's say for example, even the cheaper one, even during, even off the campaigns, it's usually about 15,000 shillings. Right now, it's going for about 10,000 shillings. And the same package has a doctor's consultation, has a nutrition consultation, and has a doctor consultation. So don't wait until those symptoms have started emanating for you actually to go for checkup. Just come and sit down with me and just say, I need my family to actually live longer, or basically more of a quality life, because God is the one who gives you the life in itself. But we want people to live a quality life. Let's get to 90 when at least we really don't have hypertension or heart failure, other than even get to 50 and you have a pharmacy of medications. So nutrition is very key.
And still on that, I've noted we've also become doctors on our own. Intermittent fasting, the NITO. You find that at work we have some huge tubes, having some lemons and some ginger. And you'll find I will skip lunch, you know. Sometimes you'll find that I will skip breakfast, or one of the 3 meals, I'll skip that, and then I'll be taking some things here. Is this sort of a regimen? I don't know, with a menu or something, a menu. Is it recommended from where you stand?
Okay. This is what I will educate the public. These diets, most of them are what you call fad diets. Diets, there are some diets that were just designed for a particular purpose, and especially the runway models. You find that they will do a particular diet like intermittent fasting or the keto diets, basically to lose certain kgs, basically to fit on that gown, just for that particular purpose. But you find that it has bloomed. You find that now people are using it as a day in, day out diet. And it has its pros. Actually, science has not been able to, in an extent, to actually research on some of the implications of this diet. Because you find that most of the purpose why people are doing that is to have a smaller figure. But you see, you're starving. You're actually starving to get that smaller figure. For you, for me as a client, I want to lose that fat, or basically that weight. But by the end of the day, are you getting enough nutrients? because you're practically starving. So you could be on those diets, and actually you're increasing your risk factor for heart failure.
And at the office, people think that you're you're doing meal smart. But as we wrap up, Doc, kindly tell us, every patient's case is unique, and how can a doctor identify the different perspectives in regards to how heart failure affects different individuals? As we wrap up.
Yes, so we hadn't touched on it yet, but heart failure, we said is an umbrella term, it's a syndrome, and you arrive there through from many other, as a complication of other diseases. Now, I hadn't said before what's the most common symptom. So the most common symptom is actually shortness of breath. You feel that you are hungry, you're not getting enough air into your lungs, and when you notice that symptom, you may notice it while you are walking, or you may notice it while you're lying flat. So that when you notice that, please see a doctor. It could be that you're having established heart failure or something that's related to it, but that's the most common symptom. The other symptom that occurs is you tend to retain fluid, so you have leg swelling. When that occurs, then you need to see a doctor. Now, these symptoms of heart failure, they tend to be common across, but now heart failure is different because we say we have got left-sided heart failure and right-sided heart failure, and the causes are different. The treatment actually is different. Now, once you have these symptoms, you need to see a doctor. Now, the impact to the patient is not just about how limiting these diseases are, because they limit your physical activity and your ability to do many things, but also they are limiting in terms of cost, as we just talked about here. So those are shared aspects. But what I want the patient, from what you're asking me, to know is that the common way it presents is the same, is almost the same, but there are different entities in there that are treated just slightly differently, and that requires a doctor. Indeed, many times it requires a specialized doctor to look into it with this device I'm talking about, like echo, and then tell you this is what you need and treat it. Yes. Not all heart failures are permanent. Some of them are reversible. And even picking up which ones are easily reversible is also under the purview of being seen by a doctor who can tell you what to do. And some heart failures occur after pregnancy, and some of those will be reversed. Some heart failures occur during childhood that she was talking about, and some of those just with simple surgery. Yeah.
And because we have it's 11th to 17th, your offer is still between these two dates, 11th or 17th, or somebody can pop in anytime?
So anytime, but for the next 2 weeks, we are running.
For the next 2 weeks,
we are running these subsidized clinics when you come in.
All right.
But there may be a small cost sometimes because there are some tests that you may need to do. But believe me, just talking to somebody about your symptoms and getting is an important step to make towards the right. Yes. And then we don't see it. We're beginning to see a lot of people with coronary artery disease. Coronary arteries are vessels that supply the heart muscle, and those get blocked when you have diabetes or hypertension or you smoke, and that presents with chest pain. And that again is something we easily treat in current. So if you have chest pain that either comes when you're exercising or that comes suddenly, that's something we need to see us for as well.
Thank you. I'm hoping that between those the 2 dates, at least we also have another discussion to maybe see where we are in regards to heart failure in the country. Remember, we are Heart Failure Awareness Week, and I've been engaging Dr. Stephen Omondi, who is a physician and a cardiologist, and we also have Josephine Mbudi, who is a nutritionist, both from the Karen Hospital, and they say for the next couple of weeks they will be having subsidized rate in regards to checking your heart and in regards to the treatment itself, which is quite a good initiative, especially coming from a reputable hospital like Karen Hospital in regards to helping us out in our health. And of course, thank you so much for making time for KBC News Check. My name is Bentroy Njue. We started with Byron Abuli. Now we have Lensa Odingo. I'm now giving the baton to the Swahili desk for Kurunzi Mashinani and Tamrini. Do have yourself a blessed day.
Nairobi offers a diverse array of classic street foods, tantalizing taste buds with mouth-watering bites like nyama choma and ugali, mukimo, and deliciously spiced mutura.
Nairobi is known for its vibrant street food scene, offering an array of flavorful and affordable dishes. And today I will be sampling the 3 classic street foods that Nairobi has to offer. Let's go. My first stop is the Pelican Village, a lively food court in Nairobi known for its affordable street foods. Here, I'm going to be learning more about nyama choma and ugali from Masai, who is our chef. Let's go. Tell us, what is nyama choma?
Nyama choma is equivalent to a slaughtered goat or cow. We have rib chops and the front hind.
This is what people eat a lot. Gani?
Chops. People love the rib chops a lot.
Umekuwa ukifanya for how long?
I have been doing this for many years, since 2013.
Lan, I want you to show us the process from the beginning till the end. Sindio?
Okay. Fine. The first step, we cut the raw ribs.
So Masai has just cut for us some raw meat, specifically the front leg of a goat, and that is what we're going to marinate and then throw on to our grill. From here we marinate the meat, right?
Yeah, and from here we marinate. We then marinate with salty water. After that, we put it in the grill. Then you keep on turning the meat, as also you keep on marinating it with the salty water.
What is the accompaniment for nyama choma?
People love ugali as the main accompaniment for nyama choma. Then we have mokimo, chips, greens, and kachumbari.
Kachumbari and greens.
So how long will this take?
After that 40 minutes, iko sawa.
So 35-40 minutes and we'll be back here to see how it looks.
The meat is ready.
The nyama choma is so juicy.
Nice.
That was so delicious, but my journey has only just begun. The next part of my journey takes me to Chiemo, Delhi, where I'm going to be learning more about a very traditional food that is very close to the hearts of all Kenyans. This is mokimo with Anne Wairimu.
Mokimo is the traditional food for the Kikuyu community.
So today you're going to teach us how to make mokimo, right?
Yes. We will require potatoes, boiled maize, pumpkin leaves.
What makes the mokimo color green? And what else is this?
And onions. As our onions continue to cook, we will put our boiled maize here with the cooked potatoes.
For 5 minutes, as long as the potato is completely mashed.
We are now done with mashing the maize.
So now we're blending the kahorora, and if you're looking for an alternative, you could use pumpkin leaves to create that green color.
We are now putting the kahorora into our mokimo. It adds color and the taste of our mokimo.
Could you tell me where you learned how to make this mokimo?
I knew how to cook in my parents' house, and I used to visit my grandmother a lot.
So now the onions are ready, and it's time for us to fry the mokimo.
Our mokimo is ready now. We can serve.
We are now ready to eat. It is everything I was imagining it to be. I love how you served it with some beef stew soup. You told me, why do people love this dish so much?
Because it's very healthy. It has vitamins, proteins, carbohydrates. It gives you a lot of energy.
Now I understand why this is a popular dish. Finally, I am now on the lovely streets of Nairobi hunting for the best mutura in town. So we are right outside a local club in Nairobi. Why is this such a popular snack? at night.
Mutura is known as the African sausage. We use it as a bite when you order food and you're awaiting the main dish. Also, when you get off work during the evenings.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this job for 2 years.
Can you tell us a little bit about what is inside the mutura?
Mutura usually has meat, small intestines, onions, and secret ingredients which I cannot reveal.
You will not reveal everything. So there's not much that goes on into it after you've already put everything inside the intestine, yeah? Casing. All right. So how long does it take to...
It takes 7 to 10 minutes to prepare the
7 to
mutura.
10 minutes? Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll wait.
This one?
Right now, yeah.
200 only.
For all of this?
Yeah.
Moment of truth. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Kazi safi. Nairobi's vibrant food culture is embodied in its love for food. Like Nyama Choma's sizzling grilled meat, the traditionally made mokimo, and even the Mutura's unique meat stuffed sausage. Each dish showcases Nairobi's diverse and flavorful culinary traditions. But you must try it for yourself.
The king in the land of
This February, precious moments with Channel One entail endless hours of warm sentiments.
I really love you.
Oh, Lord.
Joy.
Did you get the job, lady?
Romance.
Oh, babe.
Affection. Passion. Family.
Who are those flowers for?
Oh, I'm sure they're for Lucia.
Fulfillment.
Oh, this is so sweet.
That's that.
An array of programs specially selected for you to give you and your loved ones the cozy feeling of being at home.
Impressive.
Baby, let me tell you.
The treat is on us.
Are you serious? Just give us a chance.
Make a date with KBC Channel 1 in the month of love for a heartwarming experience.
You will love it.
每一张都是王淼拍的，每一张上都有。从什么时候开始拍的？这是第一次。之前呢，我一直在说，邪乎到家必有鬼，但这次，这鬼也太不一般了。你知道是谁让他灌全实验的吗？
彭教授啊，我是常伟思啊，请教一个问题：宇宙会闪烁吗？
时间的尽头。
Na Jumanne njema mpenzi mtazamaji popote pale ulipo, natumai ya kwamba kufikia sasa siku yako inakuendea vyema. Karibu sana kwenye Kurunzi Mashinani. Jina langu ni Nancy Okware. Na basi moja kwa moja tukianza ni kwamba Kenya na Iran zitaendelea kuimarisha uhusiano baina yao, hususan katika sekta za teknolojia na ubunifu, kilimo na afya miongoni mwa sekta nyingine. Akizungumza kwenye maadhimisho ya miaka 45 ya mapinduzi ya Kiislamu nchini Iran, balozi wa Iran humu nchini Daktari Ali Golanpour na kaimu mkurugenzi katika Wizara ya Masuala ya Kigeni Balozi Paul Kamweru walielezea umuhimu wa mataifa hayo mawili kutumia fursa zilizopo kukuza ushirikiano katika sekta muhimu kwa manufaa ya nchi hizo mbili.
Mabalozi, viongozi wa kidini, wananchi, viongozi wakuu wa serikali wakiongozwa na kaimu mkurugenzi katika Wizara ya Mashauri ya Kigeni, Balozi Paul Kamweru aliungana na balozi wa Jamhuri ya Kiislamu wa Iran humu nchini Dr. Ali Golampur wakati wa hafla ya kuadhimisha miaka 45 ya siku ya kitaifa ya mapinduzi ya Kiislamu ya Iran jijini Nairobi. Ni katika hafla hiyo ambapo balozi wa Iran nchini Kenya, Dr. Ali Golampur, aliahidi dhamira ya taifa lake kuendelea kuimarisha ushirikiano hasa katika sekta za ubunifu, teknolojia, kilimo, huduma ya afya, miongoni mwa sekta nyingine.
In respect of bilateral relations with the Republic of Kenya, a lot has been achieved and a lot more yet to be done. Well-established friendly and amicable relations between the two countries provide a solid ground for expanding trade and investments and enhancing economic relations.
Mwanadiplomasia huyo alisema kwa kutumia ari ya ubunifu ya Kenya, Iran inalenga kuimarisha uwezo wake wa kiteknolojia na kuimarisha ukuaji wa uchumi.
The Islamic Republic of Iran has constantly followed a balanced, influential and independent foreign policy. Iran pursues friendly relations with other countries in all areas of mutual interest. Iran emphatically works for international peace and security, crisis resolution.
Mgeni rasmi katika maadhimisho hayo ambaye ni kaimu mkurugenzi katika Wizara ya Mashauri ya Kigeni, Balozi Paul Kamweru, alisema zipo fursa zinazowezekana za ushirikiano wa kunufaishana katika sekta ya mawasiliano na kilimo.
There is an opportunity for the two sides to work together to increase this volume and indeed the overall level of bilateral trade. It is notable that there are valuable opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation in the field of energy, in the field of telecommunications, and even in agriculture.
Kamweru alisema Kenya inatarajia kuandaa kikao cha 7 cha kongamano la ushirikiano wa pamoja kati ya Kenya na Iran jijini Nairobi mnamo Mei mwaka huu.
As we look forward to hosting the 7th session of the Kenya-Iran Joint Commission for Cooperation here in Nairobi in May, we believe that both our countries will use this existing cooperation mechanism to explore further more areas of collaboration.
Baraza la vyombo vya habari humu nchini kwa ushirikiano na shirika la Umoja wa Mataifa kuhusu elimu, sayansi na utamaduni UNESCO linaungana na ulimwengu kuadhimisha siku ya kimataifa ya redio mjini Kisii. Sherehe hizo zitaadhimisha zaidi ya miaka 100 ya kuwepo kwa redio duniani. Taarifa kamili ni kwenye mseto wa kaunti.
Kenya inaungana na ulimwengu kuadhimisha siku ya kimataifa ya redio hivi leo, ambapo sherehe hizo zitaandaliwa katika kaunti ya Kisii. Na kama njia mojawapo ya kukaribisha maadhimisho hayo, Baraza la vyombo vya habari humu nchini MCK kwa ushirikiano na shirika la Umoja wa Mataifa kuhusu elimu, sayansi na utamaduni UNESCO limefadhili shughuli kadhaa ikiwemo michezo ya aina mbalimbali ambayo iliwavutia waandishi wa habari kutoka kaunti za Kisii, Nyamira na Kisumu.
We'll be celebrating 100 years over 100 years of radio as a tool of informing, educating and entertaining the masses around the great republic of our country. This is a day that is set by UNESCO to join the masses around the world.
Kwingineko, polisi mjini Murang'a wamewakamata watu wawili ambao wamekuwa wakitengeneza pombe haramu katika makazi yao eneo la Gatanga. Maafisa wa usalama waliopokea taarifa kutoka kwa wananchi walivamia eneo ambalo utengenezaji wa pombe hizo bandia ulikuwa ukiendelea. Takriban lita 150 za ethanol, mashine za kutengeneza pombe hiyo, nembo bandia za halmashauri ya KRA, kreti na chupa za aina mbalimbali zilipatikana katika eneo hilo.
We also managed to arrest the proprietor or the person that has been operating this illegal business together with another male person. We have also been able to find out that the culprit is a police officer, but he left the service.
Na shule za upili zinaendelea kukabiliwa na changamoto za karo na bidhaa za kibinafsi za wanafunzi wanaojiunga na kidato cha kwanza, wiki 3 tangu wanafunzi hao wafike shuleni. Katika baadhi ya shule hizo, wanafunzi kadhaa wamefika shuleni bila karo na vifaa vya matumizi ya kibinafsi, wakitaja uhaba mkubwa wa kifedha.
Unajua form 1 walianza kuingia wiki 2 ambayo imepita. Na sasa hii wakiingia unaona kama wanakuja wazazi na watoto wanakuja kama wanalia. Hakuna fee, hakuna pesa, wengine wanakuja hata hakuna uniform, wengine hata kiatu peke yake ndio hakuna. Sasa wewe kama principal unaona tu huyu siwezi lock yeye nje.
Hatimaye Wakenya wanaendelea kutoa maoni mbalimbali kuhusu pendekezo la serikali kwamba malipo ya karo za shule yalipwe kupitia mfumo wa kidijitali wa eCitizen.
Ningependa kuambia wazazi wasisikie porojo, pesa yao iko, ni vile tunataka accountability, kwa sababu kwa wale principals wazuri pia kuna wale walagai.
When you look at where I come from, there are so many villages where parents don't even have smartphones. There are parents who pay fees by bringing firewood, bringing a chicken, bringing maize. Will you take a sack of maize and force it through a computer?
Ronald Terer, Kurunzi Mashinani.
Na mtazamaji, tukielekea kwenye taarifa ya tanzia ni kwamba familia moja katika kaunti ndogo ya Kenyenya inatafuta majibu kufuatia kifo cha mwanao. Familia hiyo kutoka kijiji cha Kebaracho katika kaunti ya Kisii inataka kujua ni kwa nini usimamizi wa shule ulichelewa kumpeleka mwanafunzi huyo hospitalini alipoanza kuugua, wakisema iwapo angepata matibabu kwa wakati mwafaka angenusurika kifo. Brian Otara alikuwa mwanafunzi wa kidato cha kwanza katika shule ya upili ya wavulana ya Riokondo na alifariki alipokuwa akikimbizwa hospitalini.
Sasa kutafuta ule wa pikipiki wakakataa. Sasa nikaambia wamama nitafutie watu wa pikipiki. Sasa ndio nilipata nikaweka huyo mtoto chukua pikipiki. Sasa kufika hapo huyo mtoto alikufia tu tukikuwa kwa pikipiki. Tukifika hospitali sasa ule mwenye alikuwa anamtibu akasema huyo mtoto wako amesaha nini? Amesaha.
Mtoto wangu amefariki kwa njia gani? Na ni kwa nini ifike kiwango wakati mtoto amezidiwa na ugonjwa ndio tunafahamishwa. Umesikia wanyama mtoto amekuwa mgonjwa on Wednesday. So means if they were serious lazima wangefuatilia huyu mtoto mbona hayuko darasani.
I reported back to the teacher nikamwambia huyu kijana is very in a critical condition, we refer.
Nikisema ukweli katika Kebaracho village ni Kebaracho China lakini hakuna wasomi. Huyu ndiye alikuwa mmoja wa watoto ambao tulikuwa tunategemea.
Kwingineko ni kwamba jiji la Hefei mkoani Anhui mashariki mwa China limeanzisha mfumo mpya wa kutoa ajira kwa wanafunzi wanaohitimu kutoka vyuoni na kwenye taasisi za kiufundi kwa kuunganisha na kampuni nchini China. Taarifa kamili ni katika makala yetu kuhusu Ifahamu China.
Dunia ikiendelea kupambana na uhaba wa ajira na wanafunzi waliohitimu kutoka vyuo na taasisi za kiufundi nchini China wakipitia kipindi kigumu kutafuta ajira, serikali ya China imetangaza hatua kadhaa za ajira ambazo zitawezesha wanafunzi hao kuajiriwa. Hatua hizo ni pamoja na kutoa ruzuku kwa makampuni ambayo yanaajiri wanafunzi waliohitimu kutoka vyuo kwenye taasisi za kiufundi. Kupitia mpango huo wa ajira, wanafunzi wanaoanzisha biashara baada ya kuhitimu kutoka vyuoni pia watapunguziwa ushuru kwa muda hadi biashara zao zitakapokuwa thabiti. Kampuni moja ya utafiti na kutengeneza programu za kompyuta mwezi Mei mwaka huu ilitangaza nafasi za ajira kwa wanafunzi waliohitimu kutoka taasisi moja jijini Hefei.
Tutaongeza ushirikiano kati ya shule na waajiri kwa kuwezesha vyuo vikuu au shule za ufundi na waajiri kuchagua wanafunzi wanaotaka na pia wanafunzi kuchagua makampuni wanayopenda. Katika hatua inayofuata, tutatangaza sera za ajira na uanzishaji wa biashara kupitia njia nyingi kwa njia ya pande zote. Pia na kutekeleza sera ya kutoa kipaumbele kwa nafasi za ajira za moja kwa moja.
Juhudi za serikali za mitaa katika kukuza ushirikiano wa moja kwa moja wa ajira kati ya vyuo vikuu au shule za ufundi na waajiri ni muhimu katika kuwaongezea wahitimu nafasi za ajira. Kufanya hivyo kunasaidia katika kuanzishwa kwa majukwaa ya kudumu ya ajira pamoja na kutoa nafasi kwa vyuo vikuu na shule za ufundi kuelewa vizuri mahitaji kwenye soko la ajira. Kufikia mwishoni mwa mwaka huu, zaidi ya wanafunzi milioni 11 watahitimu kutoka vyuo na taasisi za ufundi stadi nchini China.
Haya basi mtazamaji, baada ya makala hayo kuhusu Ifahamu China, tunachukua tu mapumziko mafupi kisha nitarejea kwenye upande wa pili wa studio, na leo hii nitakuwa nakuletea kipindi cha Tamrini na tutakuwa tunazungumza kuhusu mazingira, athari za tabia nchi na hususan gesi ya methane na athari ambayo inatokana nayo na jinsi ambavyo ulimwengu unastahili kukabiliana na gesi hii ili kuhakikisha kwamba athari ambazo zinashuhudiwa zinapungua kwa kiasi fulani. Na hivyo basi nitakuwa nazungumza naye Daniel Wanjuki ambaye ni afisa mkuu kutoka EcoSave Africa. Hivyo basi endelea kuwa nasi. Mimi naitwa Nancy Okware, mtangazaji kwa upande wa ishara leo hii ni Brian Muraru. Kwa heri kwa sasa.
To get past pain as your skiza tune, dial *812 *502#.
You don't have to carry your past pain into your present. Your generation doesn't have to go through the pain you went through. You have what it takes to bring a new life, a new breath, a new atmosphere, a new name into your generation. Don't just sit and watch a repeated pain.
To get past pain, dial *812 *502#. *812 *502#.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out. Who's the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevakishwa. Hii wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tukapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Shukran sana mtazamaji kwa kuendelea kuwa nasi. Sasa karibu sana kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini. Na kama nilivyokuwa nimekudokezea ni kwamba leo hii tutazidi kuangazia swala muhimu ambalo ulimwengu umekuwa ukikumbatia, swala la kukabiliana na mabadiliko ya tabia nchi ambayo yameleta athari ambayo kiwango chake ni kikubwa, na tunafahamu kwamba licha ya Afrika kuwa inatoa tuseme ule uchafu kidogo, basi Afrika inaathirika kwa kiwango zaidi. Na hivyo basi, mtazamaji, tutakuwa tunaangazia mikakati ipi ambayo mataifa yanastahili kuchukua ili kubadilisha hali, na hususan pia tutaangazia gesi ya methane. Je, unaifahamu inatokana na nini na athari zake ni zipi kwa mazingira? Na hivyo basi, kwenye studio leo hii mgeni wangu ni Daniel Wanjuki ambaye ni afisa mkuu kutoka EcoSave Africa. Tutakuwa tunaangazia hili swala kwa kina, na hivyo basi mtazamaji, mie naitwa Nancy Okware, naye anayepeperusha matangazo haya kwa lugha ya ishara ni Brian Muraru. Na basi moja kwa moja tukianza, karibu sana Bwana Daniel Wanjuki kwenye studio zetu, na tuanzie tu hapo, mtazamaji ikiwa anajiuliza hii gesi ya methane ni nini na inatokana na nini?
Asante sana Nancy kwa kunialika kwa mjadala. Jina langu ni Daniel Wanjuki, mimi ni mshirikishi wa mambo ya mazingira, ikiwa na pewa ile title ya lead expert kwa kufafanua mambo ya mazingira, athari za maendeleo kwa mambo ya mazingira, na venye tuna contribute ama binadamu anachangia kwa kuharakisha yale mabadiliko ya tabia nchi. Mwanzo niseme kwamba kunazo kemikali ambazo zikiingia kwa hewa huwa zinazuia mwanga wa jua kuingia kwa ardhi. Kati yazo ni kama mawingu. Wakati kuna mawingu wewe ujipata unasikia joto, maana yale mawingu huwa yanafanya kama kizuizi cha lile joto lililoingia kwa ardhi, likijaribu kupotea kutoka kwa ardhi lirudi huko juu kwa atmosphere, huwa linakutana na mawingu. So mojawapo ya zile vitu huchangia joto ni mawingu. Lakini mawingu yako na mazuri yake, maana kukinyesha huwa ni kama ameponyesha ile adhari ya joto. Lakini kunazo gesi zingine ambazo hazina uzuri wowote kwa mazingira. Mojawapo ni sulfur dioxide, ikiwa mojawapo zile gasi hupatikana wakati takataka inaoza. Kunazo pia nitrous oxide ambazo pia huchangia kutengeneza ile wanasayansi huitaja kama greenhouse effect. Nansi ukaingia kwa gari saa kama hizi na umefunga madirisha, joto litakuwa pale ni kubwa sana. Na hiyo huchangiwa na kwamba joto limeingia kwa kioo ya gari, alafu hiyo joto imekuwa absorbed kwa tunazitaka upholstery, viti, dashboard. Hiyo joto inakuwa retained hapo. Ikijaribu kutoka huwa inapata kile kioo na huizuia itoke. Sasa joto inakuwa accumulated hapo ndani, ndio tunaitanga greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect pia tunajua tunazitumia kwa ukulima kuongezea joto ndio mimea zikue kwa haraka. Lakini hili jambo likifanyika kwa dunia mzima, hapo ndio tunasema kuna global warming ama joto la tabia nchi limepanda. Na hilo joto huzuia mvua, mawingu ya mvua ya tande. Na yakipatikana kidogo hivi joto lipatikane huwa linasabaratisha. So tukisema sababu moja ya kuzuia mvua ipatikane ndio tukapata kiangazi mwaka 1.5, ni kwamba ile joto iko kwa hewa haikubali mawingu ya tande ndio kunyesha mvua. Kwa hivyo sasa tunasema kuna gesi zinaweza sababisha hivyo. Tukasema kuna nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, hata mvuke tu moisture huwa ina contribute. Lakini kunayo gesi moja ambayo ni hatari sana. Hili gesi ni kama linaitwa methane. Mpaka hapo sijataja carbon dioxide.
Naam.
Maana
carbon ni ile watu wanadhani imetanda zaidi.
Na hiyo sio hata sio mbaya sana. Maana carbon dioxide ikiingia kwa hewa huwa inachukuliwa na mimea, na mti yoyote unaona kwa macho yako, hiyo pati ya mti unaona iko na carbon. Kwa hivyo carbon dioxide tunaweza kuitumia kukuza mimea, kufanya mimea kama miti ikue, matunda, vitu kama hizo. Lakini methane gas ambayo hujitengeneza ikiwa gas ambayo ni carbon moja na hydrogen 4. Hiyo molecule ya methane gas ambayo iko na carbon moja na hydrogen 4 huwa ikiingia kwa hewa huwa zinashikana. Molecules zote zinashikana kama mikono, venye unaweza shikana mikono. Unakumbuka tulikuwa watoto, ile mchezo tulikuwa tunafanya mfuringo, watoto wanazunguka hivi. Sasa imagine kama molecules za methane gas hushikana mikono hivyo na ziko na mikono 4. Kwa hivyo huweza kushikana molecules nyingi mpaka zinatengeneza kalea kako layer, yani ambayo mwangaza hauwezi kuingia. Mwangaza wajua hupitia ndani, lakini ukienda kurudi unashindwa kupita pale. Hiyo molecule ya methane gas hufanya kazi kama bouncing castle. Hata joto likuwe na nguvu gani, likigonga ile layer huwa ina bounce badala ya kuashiria joto lipite. Na ile vibration inafanyika pale, kwa hiyo layer ya methane gas huwa inarudisha joto kwa ardhi. Na ndiposa unapata siku hizi masaa ya saa 9 usiku, wakati ungetarajia kuwa na baridi, utafuta blanketi penye iko, kuna joto jingi ambalo linazuia linafanya usiwe na starehe usiku. Tulikuwa tunasema zamani kwamba ndege huwa wanaimba usiku wa manane ama kuelekea asubuhi saa 9 saa 8. Siku hizi hata hamna haja ya ndege kuimba, maana kule kuimba kwa ndege huwa anajaribu kujipatia joto. Lakini joto lenye liko pale kwa ardhi linazuia hata ndege wenyewe wawe na hamu ya kuimba, maana kuna joto ya kutosha. Nikasema kwamba kwa kila siku joto lenye lingepotea liende kwa huku tunaitanga atmosphere, above the atmosphere, iende kwa universe. Likikosa kuenda kupotea huko, huwa inachangia ile budget ya ardhi ya joto inakuwa kwamba badala uanzishe 0 asubuhi ndio ijijenge mpaka saa 10 saa 11 ianze kuwa baridi, unajipata asubuhi tayari kuna joto ambayo halikupotea jana usiku. Na hilo ndio sababu kubwa ya walimwengu ama wanasayansi kusema climate change inachangiwa sana na methane gas.
Naam.
Na hako kagasi kakiwa kadogo vile kanajitaburika, hakaharibiwi sana na joto la jua. Maana hizi gasi zingine nilisema
kidogo tu nitakukatiza, tutarejelea huu mjadala baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu. Lakini mtazamaji, sasa ningependa tuelekee moja kwa moja katika mbuga ya Loisaba katika eneo la Nanyuki, ambapo Waziri Daktari Alfred Mutua anaongoza hafla ya kusherekea uhamishaji wa vifaru weusi 21. Hivyo basi hebu tuelekee pale tufuatilie taarifa hiyo, kisha tutarejea kwenye studio.
Rhinos in this country. And later, we realized in 1989 we only had 387. We started this conservation effort to stop poaching and to grow the rhinos. And today I'm happy to report we have 1,004 black rhinos alive in this country because of those conservation efforts. And our target is to grow them so that our children and our grandchildren will see them exceed that, surpass that 20,000 mark that used to be there. Why? You know, in life, in this world that we live, human beings, wild animals, all types of animals, may they be crawling on the ground, swimming in the ocean, walking on the land, flying in the sea, the plants, all of us, we are meant to live on this earth. And we have to live together. Therefore, conservation is not an issue of whether we should do it or not, but it is a must if we have to continue coexisting and living properly. Because there's something called the cycle of life. Cycle of life says that human beings here, they're all these animals, and we live in this cycle of life of death and birth and marriage and eating the animals and the animals eating other animals and other animals living together and making sure that the environment is okay, the plants are growing. Because without that cycle of life, we will all cease to exist. So it is vital for us, if we want humanity to continue existing, for us to conserve what God has given to us. I want to thank the various donors and supporters for your support and the help that you've done. It has not been in vain. You are supporting us in many areas, and we'll continue working together. For example, you've been supporting us on our program for the white northern rhino, where we only have 2 remaining females. But through science, we've successfully been able to implant a seed that is growing in one of the rhinos, which we hope will be the beginning of an expansion of those 2 white northern rhinos. In the whole world, we only have 2 here in this country. And we are going to make them a key tourist attraction, so that when you want to come and see those 2 white rhinos, you pay good money, so that money can go to the communities, so that people can come and see those 2 white rhinos. Governor, umeongea kuhusu mambo tofauti. Nataka kuhakikishia kwamba hii serikali ya William Ruto inafanya kazi ikijali wewe na wananchi. Hii wizara yangu tayari tumeweka shilingi zaidi ya milioni 200 ya kuchimba dams, kufyeka barabara, kujenga barabara ikuje kwenu, si ndio? Na kuwafanyia miradi tofauti ya kuweza kuwasaidia wananchi. Kwa hivyo hiyo dams nini tunashughulikia. Asante sana kwa kuulizia wananchi. Ningependa pia kusema ya kwamba kuna hii shida ya wildlife conflict. Wananchi wanauawa na wanyama, wengine waliuawa, hawajalipwa, wengine mimea imeharibiwa, shida tofauti. Mimi nimeiweka chap hii mpango ya kuwalipa watu compensation. Tumechagua timu fulani ambayo itatusaidia kuharakisha haya mambo. Nimekutana mimi mwenyewe na wale watu wanafanya verification, team zetu, kwa wale wako katika kila mahali, hata wenyu walikuwa hapo. Nimewadunga shindano ya chap. Sasa ni kuharakisha. Nimekaza, tuko na bilioni 1.2, tuko na ingine milioni 9 nafuatia. Yote tunaweka pamoja, tuko na pesa ya kutosha. Ndio miaka inayokuja hii mambo watu kungojea iishe, ndio tuweze kuwalipa pesa zenu. Lakini tukifanya hivyo pia tuna mpango wa kuweka fencing, na nitakuja hapa governor akiniruhusu to launch fence ya kusema wanyama wakae pande hiyo, wananchi wakae pande hiyo. Tumeweka pesa, tumepeana contract tayari. Sasa nataka mtu aanze kuchimba mtaro, aanze kuweka fencing, ndio tukuje tuanzishe huo mradi, so that we protect people. So human wildlife conflict is a real thing, and we've put money into fencing. We are putting money into education, so that we can be able to help our communities live well with animals. Laikipia ina conservancies 28. Congratulations, jipigieni makofi. Ni 28, si ndio? 28. Lakini William Ruto akikaa kule kwa ofisi yake, mimi nikaa kwa ofisi yangu, tunajua kitu moja ya ukweli. Na ni kwamba hizi conservancies za Laikipia hamsikizani. Muko namna hii. Si ni ukweli? Si muko namna hii? Sasa nyinyi mmetoka mahali moja, wanyama moja, serikali inaweka pesa, alafu William Ruto kwa meza yake anasema hawa watu wasikizani. Mimi naomba ya kwamba tusikizane. Hii shida ndogo ndogo tunatatua kidogo kidogo, si ndio? Na governor na wengine tusikizane. Ndio sisi tumwage pesa hapa. Si unataka tumwage pesa? Tumwage pesa hapa, tufanye miradi, maendeleo ndio mbele. Si ndio madam? Hiyo tusisikie report hata kama ni uongo, isikuje kwamba msikizani. Iko sawa sasa? Mnasikizana kabisa? Ukweli kabisa? Ukweli? Acha. Nimesikia fununu kidogo. Mnachokozwa huko kwingine. Mnachokozwa
Na mtazamaji, ni picha za moja kwa moja kutoka katika eneo la Nanyuki, na anayezungumza pale ni waziri wa utalii Daktari Alfred Mutua kuhusiana tu na uhamishaji wa vifaru weusi 21, na basi taarifa hiyo tutakuwa tunaipata hapo baadaye tukiletewa naye mwanahabari wetu Alvin Kaunda ambaye anafuatilia taarifa hiyo. Lakini sasa tukirejea kwenye studio kuendelea na mazungumzo yetu, leo hii niko naye Daniel Wanjuki ambaye ni afisa mkuu kutoka EcoSave Africa, Tunazungumza tu kuhusiana na athari za gesi ya methane kwa mazingira, na kabla ya kuenda kupata taarifa hiyo ulikuwa unazungumza kuhusiana na ile nguvu ambayo gesi yenyewe inayo na athari ambazo zinashuhudiwa kwa mazingira.
Asante sana. Tulikuwa tunasema kwamba hiyo gasi gawaji ni ndogo kwa quantity yake inaweza kuwa ndogo. Kuna shinda kwamba haiharibiwi na miale ya jua kama hizi zingine nilizotaja kama sulfur dioxide na nitrous oxide. Yenyewe hiyo gasi huwa ina resist kuharibiwa na miale ya ultraviolet light, tunaita UV light. Na half life ya hiyo gesi ni karibu miaka 500. Kumaanisha ni kwamba ukiwa na tani moja hiyo gasi kwa mazingira huko kwa atmosphere, itachukua miaka 500 kupunguka kutoka kwa tani moja ikuwe nusu tani. Na hiyo ndio inachangia yale makali ambayo tunasema methane gas inatuletea kwa mazingira. Kwamba haiharibiki haraka na haina mmea ama mdudu yeyote ambaye hutumia hiyo gasi kama chakula ama kwa food chain yake. Inamaanisha isipokuwa ni jua liharibu kwa miale kupitia kwake, haina njia nyingine ya kujiondoa kwa mazingira. Carbon dioxide wakati kwa environment, wakati mvua inanyesha huwa inachanganya na maji na kuwa carbonic acid, na ndio tunasema tumepata acid rain. Na ikiingia kwa mchanga huwa na adjust pH ya mchanga.
Hivyo basi inaweza kutumika, lakini hii nyingine ya methane inachukua muda mrefu na haiwezi kutumika kwa jambo lingine. Exactly. Ni athari tu.
Ni athari pekee yake. Na tukiangalia sababu methane gas imeongezeka hii miaka ya karibuni ni kwamba mbeleni binadamu walikuwa wanatumia kama ni toilets, walikuwa naenda huko kwa kishaka na hakuna pale waste inakusanyika mahali pamoja. Sasa naelezea source ya hizi gazi ni gani. Maana sana miaka ya mbeleni haikuwa shida sana kwa environment.
Kwa nini sasa hivi imekuwa imeongezeka zaidi?
Tunapoendelea kwa tunasema civilization, tumekuwa tukikusanyika pale pamoja na tunaishi kwa vijiji ambazo ziko na watu binadamu kama 100 ama 1000. Na wale zile njia za kutupa uchafu ama kinyesi ni kujenga latrines ama septic tanks ama municipal treatment plants. Hizi zote ndizo chanzo kuu cha methane gas. Maana methane gas hupatikana wakati kuna fermentation ama decomposition ambayo haipati oxygen ya kutosha. Kwa hivyo civilization ama kuishi pamoja kama kwa miji ama kwa vijiji huchangia kuongezeka kwa methane gas. Miaka ya zamani kama 200 years ago hapakuweko na vyoo kama zenye tuko nazo. Kwa hivyo gasi yenye inatokana na waste haikuwa ikipatikana mahali pamoja. Ng'ombe pia hatukuweka ng'ombe wengi mahali pamoja. Kwa hivyo kinyesi cha ng'ombe ingekuwa ni chanzo cha methane gas. Pia factories zenye tuko nazo siku hizi kuashiria maji mingi kama ile ya sewage ama tunaitanga effluent. Maji ni chafu umetoka kwa kiwanda cha kutengeneza nyama kama kichinjio, mahali kama coffee, yani factory ya kahawa, majani, maziwa. Hizo zote ukikusanya hiyo maji pale pamoja mahali hakuna oxygen ya kutosha, fermentation yani ile kuvunjika kwa hiyo waste inatengeneza methane gas. Nimeshaenda kwa mahali kama vichinjio ambapo kila asubuhi wao huwasha hizo pods zao, wanaasha kwa kiberiti ndio hiyo gasi ishomeke, maana ni hatari kama tu yenye tuliona hapa juzi ikifanyika explosion. Lakini methane gas ikisetwa pale inahitaji tu mtu akishe ushomeka, lakini haina ile explosion effect. Kwa hiyo ndio bahati yake. Ingekuwa ni madhara makubwa sana kama tungekuwa tunaiangalia. Lakini ukiangalia mahali kama swamps kama ile Udire swamp na swamps zingine huwa kuna gasi hujitengeneza, methane gas inajitengeneza kwa maana kuna uchafu unaooza pale, zile miti ama nyasi imeenda huko pande ya chini ya swamp huoza na kuashiria methane gas. Na hiyo pia ilijulikana kwamba methane gas ilikuwa inaonekana kwa hizo kabla binadamu kuanza kuongezea methane gas kwa environment. Methane gas yenye ilikuwa inajulikana ilikuwa inapatikana kwa swamp.
Lakini sasa imeanza kutokana na mienendo ya binadamu. Na tunafahamu ya kwamba ni jambo ambalo halitabadilika, manake umezungumza kuhusu watu kuishi kwa pamoja na hilo ni jambo ambalo ulimwengu unapozidi kubadilika mambo hayatabadilika. Je, inamaanisha sasa ni ulimwengu una dharura ya kumaliza hii gesi? Ni nini ambacho tunastahili kufanya tofauti angalau tupunguze? Umezungumza kuhusu kuchukua miaka mingi kabla ya hata kumalizika ama kupungua hadi nusu. Tufanye nini tofauti?
Kwa ile COP27 yenye ilifanyika 2022, marais wa nchi za dunia waliahidi kwamba watapunguza kiwango cha methane gas kwa 30%. Lakini ukaangalia ile mienendo, hakuna sayansi yenye mpaka leo haijapatikana sayansi ya kupunguza methane gas kujitengeneza kwa environment ama kupunguza methane gas kama kwa municipal treatment plants ama kwa industries. Isipokuwa research yenye sisi tulifanya kama miaka 14 imepita, ambapo tuligundua kwamba kuna bakteria ambayo ukiweka pale kwa ile uchafu, badala ya kutengeneza methane gas hubadilisha waste na kwa ethanol. Hiyo bidhaa huitwa EcoTreat. Na nimekuwa nikijaribu kushanganua kwa nchi nyingi sana, nimekuwa nikisafiri kuwaelezea venye wanaweza badilisha ile kiwango ya methane gas yenye inatoka kwa hizo treatment plants, industries na municipal treatment plants kwa kutumia hiyo bakteria ambayo inaitwa EcoTreat. Imekuwa ni changamoto, maana ingawaje nchi kama Amerika wamekuwa wakiangazia hili jambo mpaka wakatuitisha bidhaa zetu na tukawauzia na tukawafanyia projects hapa Nairobi ambazo zinapunguza methane gas. Nchi zingine hazijalichukulia lile jambo kama jambo la dharura na ni watu binafsi ambao hushukulia hiyo jambo kwa uzito wenye nafaa. Wiki mbili zimepita, nilikuwa nimeenda India, nilikuwa nimealikwa kuwafunza wanavijiji jinsi wanaweza punguza methane gas. Tujue kwamba nchi kama India, tukiongea mambo ya population, kwao watu huishi kwa kijiji, kwa tauni moja, watu wengi sana, karibu watu milioni 1. Na waste ndio chanzo kikubwa sana cha methane gas. Kama hawana njia ya kuipunguza, ni kumaanisha itaendelea kuwa kero kwa sisi wenye tuko Afrika ambao hatuchangii sana na hiyo methane gas yenye kwa mazingira, lakini baadaye chenye tunapata ni kwamba sisi ndio tunaathirika kwa ukubwa sana. Na pia kwa kutengeneza hiyo bidhaa pia EcoTreat waste digester ambayo tumeangazia, tumeifanya rahisi kwa kila mtu duniani kuipata, na ndio tunaomba zile pesa zenye zinashikiliwa pale Addis Ababa, tumeenda kuulizia pesa zenye tuliahidiwa mwaka jana, ziwe zikitumika kupunguza methane gas, maana hilo ndio jambo moja ambalo linaweza kuwa na impact. Tukipunguza methane gas itatupatia nafuu kwamba tutaweza endelea kutumia mafuta ya petroli bila kuathirika sana kwa mambo ya mazingira ama ubadilikaji wa tabia nchi.
Hivyo basi kuna dharura kubwa kwa ulimwengu kukumbatia njia mbadala za kupunguza, manake ni jambo ambalo halizungumziwi kwa sana, lakini kama ulivyosema athari ni kubwa hata kuliko zile gesi ambazo watu wanadhani ndizo zina athari kubwa zaidi. Na ningependa hilo swala umeibua kuhusiana na mazungumzo ya COP28 ambapo kulikuwa na makubaliano kwamba shilingi milioni dola milioni 700 zitolewe na mataifa ambayo yameendelea kupunguza ama kusaidia kupunguza athari za ukame, mafuriko katika nchi ambazo zinaendelea. Na umezungumza kuhusiana na mazungumzo ambayo kwa sasa yanaendelea kule Addis Ababa. Hebu tufafanulie tu kwa kifupi kuhusiana na hizi fedha, zinastahili kutumika vipi, na ikiwa unaona ya kwamba wale viongozi wa mataifa yanayostahili kunufaika wamekumbatia hili swala na kulichukulia kwa uzito unaostahili.
Jambo la kwanza ni kwamba jumuiya ya kimataifa iliangazia kwamba kupunguza carbon dioxide ni njia moja muhimu sana kwa kupunguza hiyo mabadiliko ya tabia nchi. Na ndio hapa Kenya ilibidi tuchukue siku moja likizo ndio tupande miti. Kwa hivyo kupanda miti ni njia moja ambayo inachangia sana kupunguza climate change ama mabadiliko ya tabia nchi. Lakini zile pesa tuliahidiwa ama zenye tunadai sasa tuletewe, bila sisi kuwa na ule mpangilio wa kuzitumia, hii itamezwa tu na ile furiza tuko nayo. Maana wakati huo hata hizo pesa zikiingia kwa economy iko chini sana. Kwa hivyo isikuwe ni kwamba tukipewa hizo pesa zitaingia treasury na zianze kutumika kwa zile projects kama za housing ama mambo ya masomo. Sio kwamba ni masomo ni kupeana basa ni vibaya, lakini tuangazie mambo yenye yako na direct effect ama yako na himizo kwamba tutapunguza methane gas na tupunguze hizo gesi zingine kama carbon dioxide, na pia tupunguze matumizi ya makaa mawe ama coal, ambazo hizo ndio chanzo cha carbon dioxide ambayo haikuwa kwa budget. Dunia huwa iko na ile budget ya carbon dioxide. Tukikosa hiyo carbon dioxide tutakosa chakula. Lakini makaa mawe na mafuta ya petroli penye yanatoka hayakuwa part ya budget ya ulimwengu. Kwa hivyo huwa inakuja kuharibu ile balance. Na hizo pesa zenye tumepewa zinafaa kutumika kupunguza utumizi wa hizo bidhaa kama makaa ya mawe ama petroli. Pia kwa serikali inafaa iangazie teknolojia kama yenye tuko nayo. Mwanzo teknolojia ya kutumia iko tuitama hiyo bakteria yenye inapunguza kutengenezeka kwa methane gas haijachukuliwa kwa uzito. Maana tuseme sio kawaida ulimwengu kupata teknolojia kutoka south of the equator. Kwa hivyo kuipeleka pale, uipeleke Europe inakuwa ni changamoto sana. Isipokuwa serikali ishukulie kwa uzito na ifanye kama ni contribution ya Kenya kwa ulimwengu mzima. Tumepata changamoto sana. Nimeelezea kwamba nimeenda nchi za nje za ng'ambo kuelezea mambo ya methane gas abatement kutumia bakteria. Lakini ile uptake ama ile kushukuliwa na hizo nchi zinaona kama ni conmanship. Maana gas ya methane gas haionekani kwa macho. Ukisema hii bidhaa na ipunguza, isipokuwa serikali yenyewe ikuja ifanye ule utafiti independent assessment yenyewe inaweza kuonyeshana kwamba kweli ndi hii gesi imepotea kwa lile ile chanzo chake na sasa haipatikani. Nimejaribu, nimefanya na university kadhaa, lakini za Kenya na za nje ya nchi, lakini hatujapata ile impact. Zawadi tumepewa za kuorganize, lakini ile hamasisha kwamba kuna jambo lingine tunaweza tuitumia haijawafikia wananchi.
Na pia manake inapowafikia wananchi wanaelewa athari na pia jinsi ambavyo wanastahili kuchukua hatua zipi, na pia serikali kukumbatia ule utafiti ambao wanasayansi kama nyinyi mmekuwa mkiutoa. Na tutatamatishia hapo, lakini shukran sana kwa muda wako. Mtazamaji, tumekuwa naye Daniel Wanjuki ambaye ni afisa mkuu EcoSave Africa. Tumezungumza tu kuhusiana na gesi ya methane, athari zake kwa mazingira na pia jinsi ambavyo inachangia kwa mabadiliko ya hali ya anga na hatua ambazo zinastahili kuchukuliwa ili kunusuru hali kabla ya mambo kuwa mabaya zaidi. Na hivyo basi kufikia hapo sina la ziada. Shukran sana kwa kutazama Tamrini. Naitwa Nancy Okware, mtangazaji wa lugha ya ishara. Leo hii ni Brian Muraru. Kwaheri.
每一张都是王淼拍的，每一张上都有。
从什么时候开始拍的？
这是第一次。之前呢，我一直在说，邪乎到家必有鬼，但这次，这鬼也太不一般了。你知道是谁让他灌钱实验的吗？
彭教授啊，我是常伟思啊，请教一个问题：宇宙会闪烁吗？
Can I ask you something? Sure. What do you see in a guy like Amador Zuniga?
I'm sorry, you can't go further.
But he's my father.
I know, but you have to wait.
I know that I disappointed him, and that caused him a lot of pain. You need to go to the hospital. You don't want to give Lucia and everybody else more power to judge you. Did he say anything? He can't talk, Nora. He's in a coma.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who's the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Ile wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tukapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Can I ask you something? Sure. What do you see in a guy like Amador Zuniga?
I'm sorry, you can't go further.
But he's my father.
I know, but you have to wait.
I know that I disappointed him, and that caused him a lot of pain. You need to go to the hospital. You don't want to give Lucia and everybody else more power to judge you. Did he say anything? He can't talk, Nora. He's in a coma.
The king in the land of
This February, precious moments with Channel 1 entail endless hours of warm